Hello and welcome. My name is Josh Corey, co-host on the Iron Realm Media podcast, heard every Friday night at 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on the Iron Realm Media YouTube channel. This video is the first in a series of my appearances on the area's #1 rated afternoon drive radio show. The conversation on the Dave Glover show had turned to Neil deGrasse Tyson's dropping of the microphone, his now infamous explanation for gravity. My intention was to call in just to let them know that the flat earth was not so easily dismissed. But what happened next blew my mind.
DGS.
Can we do Duran Duran every Friday?
Yeah, can.
I like Duran Duran. We should play them every Friday.
I think this is kind of an old story, but we were talking about it yesterday off the air. This rapper who's having this debate with Neil deGrasse Tyson about...
we've never talked about it.
Let's talk about it. I don't know who this guy is. I don't understand, but...
B.O.B.
Help me out.
He has a song called Airplanes. Apparently he doesn't know how airplanes work. Tones, take it away.
I'm eating these free wings we got.
It's Beer Friday.
Mm-hmm. B.O.B. is in a battle with... I apologize greatly for the food.
I'm going to start eating my wings while you talk.
I was trying to finish them at the break there. B.O.B. has a couple of songs. He's certainly had enough success that he has been in private planes, and he's made these claims like, I've been at very high altitudes, and he's taken pictures from the tops of mountains where he says, there's two cities in the background. They're 16 miles apart. You can clearly see them in this picture, and there's no curve of the earth. He claims that we have been lied to by scientists and the government for our whole lives, and that his travels and his experience has taught him that the earth is clearly flat. He has called out specifically Neil deGrasse Tyson for perpetuating this lie of the earth being round, and they have had a Twitter battle.
He's also not kind about it.
Battle.
He's not nice about it.
No, it's not like a ha-ha fun thing. It's you've been lying to us for centuries, trying to, suppress humans' knowledge of the origin of the earth and things like that. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, God love him, he does his best trying to explain to him, but he just chalks it up as all lies, all deception from scientists and government for our whole lives.
Okay, so confronted with someone like this, who is famous, has followers, it's not your brother-in-law, someone who has some sort of effect, especially on young people, what do? Do you ignore them? Do you...
I never thought
attack them, marginalize them.
I never thought of it that way because I've just thought it's so ridiculous that I've basically dismissed it. But you're right. He probably does have some influence on the way that people think, on his fans, on younger people that are his listeners.
All you have to do is go to YouTube,
and I wonder how many people.
Popular conspiracy theories are. I mean, we've talked about Sandy Hook a lot.
And he's got a couple of big hits.
He does have big hits.
He's got a couple of big hits.
No matter what historical event, there are people who think it didn't happen. The moon landing, of course, is a big one.
And the bigger, the more they think that.
And so the earth being flat, the thing that I scratch my head about is not so much that people might still think that, but why would we have been lied to? What is in it for? Faking the moon landing, I get, because we had to show the Russians we can do this. So there was a reason for the government to fake that if it wasn't indeed faked. The earth being flat, let's say the earth is flat, and we are being lied to that it's a circle, it's round, it's a sphere. Why? What's the point
why not
of
just
that?
say, we live on a flat earth?
Right.
What are we, what's the...
So that's what makes me scratch my head. It's not that it's ridiculous. It's more like, well, okay, B.O.B., let's say you're right. The earth is flat. Why are they trying to convince us it's round? What good does it do for them?
What kind of people are attracted to conspiracy theories? And is it...
It's a great question.
And what is the... Have we always been like this? I believe that we live in a society where being right is really important. Your view being the correct one, whether it's about Donald Trump or the earth being flat or who's going to win the Super Bowl, that we are really, really invested in being correct. And I guess it's always been like that to some degree, but it really seems today we seem to have a much shorter fuse on everything with being questioned.
Yeah.
I think well, and then go back to when you were talking about a conspiracy. When everybody believed the world was flat, the first person that came up and said, no, it's not, that would have been a conspiracy at that point.
And they put him in jail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, crazy. I guess the other thing I look at, too, is, and we've talked about respecting the art, not the artist. So you've got a guy that's a rapper, or he's, I don't know, B.O.B., whatever.
Yeah.
If somebody, he wants to come out and, hey, this is how you make a hit song. All right, I'll listen to him. It's the same way if Joe Montana comes out and says, how to throw a spiral. But if he comes out and says, listen, if you're building an addition onto your house, this is what you need to do.
I disagree with that so much. The whole idea of staying in your lane, I think, is offensive. Look at the Renaissance man that is Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice, you might say he's just a trailblazing white rapper, but he also can tell you how to build a house, as you've seen on the DIY network. So the idea that people can do more than one thing is something that I ascribe to. Just because you're a rapper doesn't mean you should shut up about anything that does not have to do with rap.
So what, B.O.B. could be right?
Not my point. I'm saying that when Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist, but let's say he wants to host game shows as well. Good.
But I'm going
to do more than one thing.
Yeah, but I'm going to go to the expert in that area. That's the person I'm going to believe. Let's put it that way.
Experts could be wrong, like with Galileo, who actually he proved the experts wrong.
We have someone claiming to be a flat earther themselves. Hello, Josh. Go right ahead.
Hi, Dave. I get it.
Thank you.
I actually started looking into this flat Earth theory at about the end of 2014. There's actually a surprising large wave of number of people that started looking into it in 2014.
It's true.
And it's kind of picked up exponentially from there to the point that now we have B.O.B. and people like Tequila talking about it. God bless her soul.
Yeah, those aren't the best spokesperson for you
couple of scientists.
So walk us through, Josh. What if you're trying to convince me over a cup of coffee, what are your major arguments?
Well, for me, as far as it goes, I can't find any measurable curvature. We can look out across the ocean and see that the ocean is sea level because water will always find its level because it's level, it's flat. So we can look across Lake Michigan from Michigan and see Chicago at 60 miles. That's 60 miles across flat water that we can see the Chicago skyline. Now, according to conventional theory, the curvature of the Earth on a 25,000 mile-an-hour ball should be 8 inches of mile per drop times the distance squared. So you take the distance, you square it, multiply that times 8 inches, and that's how many inches of curvature the city should be behind the line of the curve.
Quick question for you, Josh. If you are in an airplane and you set out,
that's what I was just going to ask.
Due west, and you just keep going, you will eventually wind up where you started from. How do you explain that?
Well, if you think of a dinner plate, you can take your finger and you can run your finger along the edge of that dinner plate. Run left clockwise or right counterclockwise. Sorry, that's backwards. But either way, you can run it around the edge of the dinner plate. And if you imagine north being dead center of that plate and south being the outside edge of the plate, anywhere in between you can go in a circle and circumnavigate in a circle all the way around the plate and end up back where you started. So you could say east to west would go all the way around, right or left, in the circle. That would be the circumnavigation of the globe.
Okay, Tony pulled up something where he's showing me this. So
I'm showing the flat Earth map, and
maybe you just explained this and I didn't understand it. But if it is the Earth is flat, wouldn't there be an edge?
Yes.
Well, you would. I can see why you'd think that because in elementary school, that's what we're told. We're said, we know the Earth is a globe, and people were very scared of taking a boat and sailing off the edge, and that's why we know it's not flat because nobody's ever done it. People have circumnavigated the globe, so obviously it's a globe. They've gone east to west, so we know it's a globe. What we know is if we think of north being in the center, if you're looking at that flat Earth map, I don't really consider it a map.
I'm looking at it.
Because we don't know what the shape of it is.
The North Pole is right in the middle of it.
Well, what about this? Let me ask you this. So all of the images that we have from space and all the images we have of the moon, like we can see the moon, is it your proposition that the moon is also just like a dinner plate, that what we're seeing is a circle, but that it's flat?
I wouldn't say that it's flat necessarily. The sun and the moon appear to be, depending on what math you use, you can use spherical geometry and say that the sun is 93 million miles away in the galaxy, or you can use plane geometry and figure the sun to be about 3,000 miles up in the sky.
You know, I'm gonna put Josh on hold if you can hold. We have people calling in.
Fascinating.
Now, here's what's really interesting to me. I know Josh is wrong. And if Josh weren't on the phone with me and such a nice guy, I would say, Josh is an idiot.
Yeah, crank.
Comma. He clearly knows more about mathematics and geometry than I do.
Yes.
So this could be flat Earth. It could be global warming. It could be abortion, politics, whatever. And here's a situation where I would immediately claim superior knowledge to him in the extreme, and yet I didn't understand any of those equations. See what I mean?
Yes.
He has superior knowledge to me and seems to believe something crazy. That's what fascinates me. Quick break. Hopefully Josh will hold on through the break. A lot of people calling in. I'm hoping to give an intelligent response to him, which I cannot. Perfect for Friday. Duran Duran and Flat Earth.
I love this. We have
Yeah,
so
this is
many.
fun. I'm glad Josh held on. We're talking about this story where rapper B.O.B. was calling out
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson
Neil Tyson Grass.
about the Earth being flat. And so Josh called and said, well, I'm a flat earther, and was walking us through it. And as soon as he started talking, I thought to myself, either he's just completely full of crap or he's smarter than me, because I don't know these X inches drop per this equations. And I think that goes for so many things, even if Josh is completely wrong. I had a friend of mine who's very conservative. He was so mad at me because I won't completely rule out man-made global warming. I've had very liberal friends get super mad at me because I won't accept man-made global warming. And I told them both the same thing. I can talk for about 25 seconds about global warming until I start lying, embellishing, completely making something up. I don't understand it. And I don't think many other non-scientists do either. And so when someone is so cocksure about something like that, it's one thing to say, well, it's not that much different. If you have some theory of economics, clearly it's this. I can say that. But it's not going to take you very long, if you really understand economics, to out me as not knowing what the hell I'm talking about.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to me that 99% of us don't know what we're talking about on any given topic, and yet we just give our opinions.
We can expound on it, yes.
Yes. Yes. At least I'm honest enough to admit 90% of the things I would give my opinion on. Ask me about my family. Ask me about my background. Ask me about what I like to eat. 100% assurance. Ask me about anything else.
Off the air, we were talking all about the flat Earth thing, and I have come to the realization of why our government would lie to us about
Here
this
we go.
for aeons and aeons and
Josh,
aeons.
you created a monster.
The other side of the Earth, which we have never seen,
Well, we don't know that. We don't know what his thoughts on that are. I think it's right. I think you're right.
the government knows about it, and they have a utopia over there.
Oh!
And we are
So
being
we're in the
controlled.
wrong side of the earth.
We're in like Earth purgatory, and they don't want us to know about it. And whenever they need organs or what have you, they harvest us.
Somebody says, ask this guy about No.
Let's get it back on.
Mercator.
Okay, Josh is back on.
Mercator projection charts. Mercator projection charts. What's that? I don't know. And somebody says mountains. Well, how could there be mountains, Josh? Welcome back. And what about that stuff?
Well, Mercator has a couple different projections, actually. You can find a Mercator projection from the 1600s that looks a lot like that AE projection that you're looking at, the flat Earth map that you might call it. It's an azimuthal equidistant projection.
See?
Basically, it just puts everything out in a straight line and gives everything in a nice little circle. So you can find Mercator projections that look like the flat Earth map, just like you can find Mercator projections that look like the kind of map you get from the pull down on the wall in school. Mercator has lots of different kinds of projections.
Max
as
is
far
pulling
as
up stuff.
cartography goes.
So, okay,
amazing.
very basic questions. Help me out with this. What shape do you think the Earth is? Is it like a circular pizza stone, that it's thick, but it's not round?
See, I don't necessarily think that, and we have what's called the flat Earth theory, and in that theory there are several models. Some with a dome, with a firmament of a solid, like some sort of structure over top of us.
Yeah.
Or it's the Van Allen radiation belts, and that's our firmament that we can't get through.
So are you more of a thin Earth or a thick? Like, what is there a
Chicago style or St. Louis?
Yeah, Chicago style.
Provel or Mozzarella?
And is there what's on the bottom? Nothing.
Well, the model that I prefer tends to be come from the high elevation shots we have from like the weather balloons and the high altitude footage that we get. Is that horizon line rises with us almost completely all the way as high as we go. So if we lived on a ball, eventually that horizon would start to drop to the point that we could be looking down and see the shape of the ball. But as with the weather balloon shots, no matter how high we get, as long as you're not using a GoPro camera or some sort of fisheye lens, it's going to be a completely level horizon as it rises with your eye all the way up, no matter how high you go. So
what is the point?
Well, it shows to me that it's like almost an infinite plane. We can see basically that we're not getting any basic shape as far as the eye could possibly see.
What benefit?
Unlimited altitude.
What benefit is there to science or the government or anybody else for saying that the Earth is a sphere? Like, what?
Yeah.
It seems like a weird thing to lie about if you're going to just...
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, who knows exactly what their benefits would truly be, whether it's some sort of spiritual aspect or a monetary thing, I'm not sure. But when you put something on a finite ball and say, this is everything that we know, this is all that we are, we're just some sort of big bang happenstance monkey people, and this is what we are. This is what science shows us. And we've managed to take all of our scientific theories and we put them in the classroom, and you drop the word theory, you present it as fact, and you perpetuate whatever sort of line of thinking that you want to perpetuate.
Let's get some more calls on. Josh, I'm leaving you on. Charlie, you're up next. Go ahead.
Okay, I called to talk about sailors and how that for centuries they've been using a sextant, and being a sailor, I can tell you I've seen the Earth round from the ocean. But I don't want to just try and dispel this guy. I want you to hire him and replace him on your Paranormal Tuesdays. This guy is out there.
That's actually a great idea.
We really do
have men.
Need to have
Josh. We need to have you in, Josh.
Josh, you do need to come in for Paranormal Tuesday.
Hello, Michael. Go ahead.
For real.
Yeah, hi. I remember this from a film or something I saw or when I was a kid, that there was a gentleman, I'm not sure if it was in Egypt or China, to be honest. There was a man who put a stick in the ground at one point, another one like a couple hundred or a couple thousand, whatever was possible at that time, miles away, and they observed them, and the height of the shadows were different when the sun came at a certain time of day. Now, the Earth has to be curved for the shadows to be a different length.
Josh?
They were flat.
That's very interesting. That's Aristophanes that I believe that did that.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Aristophanes, I think, was the one that performed that actual experiment. And there's actually, I mean, it's very interesting. As long as you're using Occam's razor and you're using the least amount of presumptions to begin with, if you're not assuming a round ball just to do that, if you can't get that exact same result using plain geometry, if the only way to achieve that result shows that we live on a ball, that's fine. But I get the sneaking suspicion. Again, I don't know very much. I'm not that smart of a guy, so I doubt I'm smarter than you, Dave. And there's a really good chance I'm completely wrong.
Would you be disappointed if somehow you were convinced that, okay, the world is in fact a sphere? Would you be disappointed, like, oh, crap, that made me happy?
No, not at all. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance I had to go through to break my 38 years of spherical conditioning, you could call it, to actually say, well, how in the world could it possibly be flat?
People are texting the word astronauts like crazy. Like, yes. So if I don't say astronauts, somebody's going to just
go around.
Yeah.
So Astro, not. Astro, not. Yeah, they're not really going. They're not really going up. I don't think. You can show a lot of computer-generated images, and we can go through and talk about the different ways they can fake this stuff and all the different ways.
So you think that is fake?
I mean, again, I was looking at this in 2014.
That would be everyone's space program has been faked. Not just the moonshot, but our space program, the Russians, the Chinese, everyone's space program has been faked.
And Josh, going back, why? Why would...
Yeah, he doesn't have...
I don't even go a step further.
Take it a step further, close.
Do you think...
And again...
What percentage of the government around the world is trying to put one over on us? I mean, is there like 4 or 5 guys, or is it like pretty much common knowledge in NASA and all that?
I mean, I don't really understand the psychopathy it takes to control the planet for the people, for the politicians, for the big multi-billionaire, multinational corporation owners. I don't understand their mentality. So the whys is completely beyond me. I couldn't even begin to guess.
Jason's a good question here. Oh, hold on. Jason, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, Dave.
Hey.
I get it.
Thank you.
All right, Josh. I'm a science teacher, so I'm just curious. How do you explain a day where it's light time on this side of the Earth and it's dark on the other side of the Earth? If I'm looking at a dinner plate and you shine a light on the dinner plate, you've got daytime everywhere. And if you turn off that light, you've got nighttime everywhere. How would you, flat earther, figure that one out for me?
It's a good one.
Sure, and not really a problem as far as the flat Earth theory is concerned, because, again, we're all basing this on a complete theory. And as the theory goes, the sun is about, if you use, plane geometry, it's about 3,000 miles up in the sky. But so you basically have to redefine your whole concept of what the sun is. Is it really this nuclear fission reaction that's creating light as it expands throughout the universe? Well, it's not in the flat Earth theory because none of that exists. So you have to kind of you have to think of it almost as
like a flashlight, almost.
Like a localized light, more of a spotlight. So it's not shining in a complete spherical 360-degree everywhere light where it just be light everywhere. It's more of almost like a spotlight. It's a localized lighting almost.
And it moves across the plate.
With a flashlight, you're shining that on your dinner plate. Everything is lit at the same time.
But I think what Josh is saying is that the Earth is
how far away the light is. And
I think what Josh is saying, Jason, is that the sun isn't that far away from the Earth, and that as it moves, as the bodies move, it becomes dark and light in different parts of the dinner plate.
Yeah, but we'd still be able to see it. It would get dimmer and brighter and dimmer and brighter. It would get larger and smaller and larger and smaller. It would not. It wouldn't do.
It depends on how big the light is. If it's a small little flashlight on a big dinner plate,
you're convincing Tony.
Well, no, I'm just saying I understand what he's trying to say. I'm not saying he's right.
You guys all know Thomas Dolby, right? She blinded me with science.
Science.
Thomas Dolby released an album called The Flat Earth. He's used the name Flat Earth Society for his website forums, and he holds the place as the first member since the Flat Earth Society reopened membership.
Wow, how about that?
Blinded me with science, Flat Earth.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan of the Flat Earth Society either.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Oops, sorry.
No.
My fault. Go ahead.
Jason's gone.
No, the Flat Earth Society is what I guess a lot of Flat Earthers consider like controlled opposition. It's a guy, Leo Ferrari, that started the Flat Earth Society, and he would go around and do interviews carrying the rock, talking about, this is the rock that saved my life as I hung off the edge of the flat Earth. So they always considered to be more of a
goof.
Controlled opposition, just someone for people to see, that's what flat earthers are like.
Just to be clear,
flat earth is obviously ridiculous.
Just to be clear, you do not, there is no edge in your theory. There's not an edge that you could.
That I subscribe to.
That you could sail. Like you couldn't sail off the edge or fly off the edge.
Right.
Okay.
That would be cool.
And because you're not talking about space exactly, when you talk about the underside of a flat Earth, you're still thinking of like a disk floating in infinite space. So you just have to go around to the underside of it. But that, in the flat Earth theory, that's not necessarily the way it works.
All right, Josh, we're going to put you on hold and get your info so we can have you on a Paranormal Tuesday. Thanks. Quick break.
Yeah, we got silence on the...
Yeah, I know, John. Remember, I had to restart my computer. I didn't have time to bring everything up. I got to load up my sounds back up my soundboard. I got to open the soundboard up. And now all the sounds is going live now, John, because you just couldn't keep your mouth shut. You just couldn't deal with a little bit of silence, John. Jesus Christ. I'm only one man. I'm only one man.
You got 10 fingers. What more do you need?
Yeah, but I think
you're that guy.
2 of my thumbs are up my ass, apparently. All right, let's try this.
Here's a message of importance to millions of people who are continually pale and washed out, weak and run down. Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to keep you physically fit and mentally alert. Medical studies show that 2 out of 3 women and many, many men lack the daily iron your body requires in a form your body can easily use and put to work. Every dose gives you more than your daily minimum iron requirement.
We are the way, we are the way, we are not alone. We are striving for more.
So if you're not getting the iron your body needs,
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I don't know. There'll be a delay, won't there?
Only slightly. No, I'm sure they hear us now. Again, there's certain things I have to do when I launch OBS.
Yeah.
That if I do it on the fly, it throws me off. So, yeah. Again, I'll apologize again since you didn't hear me the first time for botching the intro. So we started off, ideally, from a blast from the past when I was driving home with my son one hot afternoon. Neil deGrasse Tyson had just dropped the mic on Comedy Central in response to B.O.B. And they were talking about it on my local radio station. And I got all excited. I said, holy shit, they're going to talk about flat Earth. They're going to talk about flat Earth. I've got to call them and let them know you cannot just dismiss this. You got to look into it. There's something to really look into here. I'm like, that's all I wanted to say. I would call and tell the screener, not expecting they want to talk to a flat earther. So that's what I did. I pulled over, lit a cigarette, called in, and very nervously sat there on the phone. And that is the phone call. That was my first time ever on the public airwaves. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy.
What?
You'd never talked on a radio show or did anything before that? That was it? That's what...
Yep, that was it. My first time ever being...
And around that...
Go ahead, Walt.
Sorry. I was just saying, around the same time, I was getting to know John and Rob, Aussie Rob, who's lurking there in our chat on YouTube. We see you, Rob, over there in the future. Over there. Before we keep running on like we all are here, just, hey, let's introduce folks. I guess we could do that real quick. Hey, folks.
We've already jacked it up enough.
I know. It's such
Hi, everyone.
It's such a trade, right? Okay, so I see Cammy. I see Martin. Wait, where's my... So, yeah, I see Bob from Globebusters. I see the Adam Meekin. I see John Savage, and I see Zach. Okay, everybody's here. Now, I feel better that everybody's at least had their name said. Y'all can say hey.
Hey, Martin, I don't know if we can hang around with these amateurs or
I
not.
know, right? We are jacked up.
Where is everyone, Bob? There's not 23 people in chat here.
Right?
I told you, we'd like to keep it under the
Right,
radar.
I know it's select.
The radar, man. It keeps the
know.
cool people. It's the cool kids hang out. But truly, we were hanging out, John, Adam. We all were trying to figure this whole thing out. Some people that aren't around any longer, and we met.
No. You headhunted Josh before you headhunted me.
Well, you're right. You're true. Even as I said, Adam, I'm like, wait, that wasn't who was around. It was Mike. It was Mike, who's no longer with us, and Cal, who's no longer with us. That's who was out hanging out with us, and another gentleman named Ben
and James,
the
Full Armor
OG. So we were all trying to just talk on Twitter. That was it. We had little groups. Bob would come in some of them every now and again. Jaron was in some of them every now and again.
And what about the Aussie guy who said that rockets work in space?
There was, what was his name?
Sushi or Tushi?
Yoshi. I'm pretty sure.
Yoshi, something like that. Yeah.
He changed his name to
too many
Wolfie 60.
Anyway, so we came across Josh's thing, what you just heard, and it was like, hey, that dude, and he had gotten on Twitter, and we all just kind of coalesced, and here we are, so much more professional now 5 years later.
Well, that one call-in actually led into a series of
that dude had a series
live appearances, which is why I got the Twitter account. Because I'd go into the studio and they would take calls and they'd take reactions from Twitter and Facebook and stuff. Like, well, I'll get a Twitter account so that I can answer and react to some of these comments that are being said about flat Earth and flat Earthers. And it was there that they found me. And Have No Sphere was sort of born, sort of.
Anyway, long story. But it apparently had some far-reaching, possibly, which the more Daz kept going on about it. This morning on the show, Cammy had sent this link, and so we played the clip, and immediately our buddy Daz jumped on the call, jumped on the show, and he was all like, yeah, Josh, that was your influence, had to be, and then he left a big, long comment in the show this morning. So far-reaching influence, I don't doubt at all.
So we'll try this.
Play the clip, see if it'll work now.
It's not very loud. Like somebody recorded it off their television with their phone.
I had to battle half my team thinking the Earth is flat this year, and they think we've never been to the moon and all kinds of crazy stuff. We've got a bunch of flat earthers.
I imagine it makes for interesting clubhouse conversation. So Carpenter, yes, flat earther. Carlos Martinez, definitely a flat earther. Dottie's more of a round earth.
Smartest guy on the team, Paul DeYoung, is a flat earther. Never seen it.
Paul DeYoung, guy who actually does like NASA-like investigations into his swing.
Mm-hmm. And I have a really good friend who is.
So there we go. So the question remains is, how many other people, how many other flat earthers got out there and called their local radio station and got the word out about flat earth so that the local baseball team could hear, to then make flat earthers out of them? So really the question is, how many Major League Baseball players are actually flat earthers? We know we've got half of St. Louis Cardinals are flat earthers, as just admitted. So the question is, how much of that could I be responsible for? How many of those Cardinals are flat earthers because I went on the #1 drive time radio station in St. Louis to say, hey, there's a chance the earth might not be what we're told.
And it wasn't just like 1 month, 2 months. You were there, what, 9 months?
I made like 32 appearances, maybe something like that. Maybe it wasn't quite into the 30s, maybe 28, 29. I've got them saved somewhere.
And then you messed up. So don't.
I want to know how many people in the state, let alone baseball players, did you prod in the right direction?
Well, I'll say this. Our friend,
call in, leave a chat, leave a comment if you were woken up by Josh in Louisiana,
St. Louis,
because of
Missouri.
his Dave Glover.
Missouri.
He's in Missouri.
Whatever.
I'm down here. I'm
So, Bob, what was it that we can prove now, or we should be answering? What got you goat in that one before you realised it was 5 years old?
Well, yeah, and yeah, thanks to Rob for letting me know that. But you know, I hear that from a lot of people. Is, you know, that's one of the biggest questions that we get. Is people say, well, why would they want to do that? You know, why would they want to lie? You know, why would the space agencies do this? Why would they want to lie about everything that is going on? And you know, maybe 5 years ago, yeah, we you know, it was a bit of a mystery. Even though even 5 years ago it wasn't that much of a mystery to me. But I think that today, you know, we have a pretty good idea exactly why. I mean, this whole game for the elites is about control. It always has been. It's about complete body, mind, spirit, and soul control. And they want absolutely nothing not under their control. So as crazy as that may sound, you know, the diabolical, you know, the ultimate villain type of thing, the reality is that's exactly what it is. You know, I mean, these people are in power. They have always been in power, and they want the ultimate power. They want complete.
People a year ago might have scoffed and laughed and gone, "Oh, ha ha ha!"
But not these days.
Where's your white fluffy cat? But yeah, I mean, look what we're seeing at the moment.
I was going to say, enjoying your worldwide lockdown. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, and that's one of the greatest things about, you know, if you want to call it a great thing, but that's, I guess, one of the best things that has come out of this COVID.
Greatest apocalypse ever, James True would let us all know.
It's the Great Awakening, I see.
Yes, it's woken people up, and people are looking around going, what in the hell? And so now when we hit them with that story about, look, it's about total control, if they are at least halfway woken up to what's going on with the COVID and what a big scam it is, and you know, all this stuff, at least they're more open to the idea of that there actually are people in the world that you know, are like Pinky in the Brain. What are we going to do today? Well, I'm going to try to take over the whole world, and that's exactly what they try to do, right?
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, you got Bill Gates, you got the World Economic Forum, all come out with their apps that track and trace their chippable vaccines. What was it? Kushner and 666 Fifth Avenue had a chippable vaccine company going on there. I mean, it's so in your face now. It just beggars belief that there are still people out there going, no, conspiracy theories. And you just want to beat your head against a wall. I'd rather beat their head against the wall, but you know, in a year's time, I might get assassinated for actually saying that now. You know, everything you say now, you got to think retrospectively what they're going to do with it in the future.
yeah, I totally agree. So, you know, that's, and I think that it's a hard thing to say, you know, because honestly, you think about what you're saying, it's like, yeah, they want total mind, body, soul control, and it sounds, it sounds paranoid. Frankly, it sounds paranoid, and it sounds a little loony, and people are hesitant to say it. And that's, you know, I mean, when Josh, I guess I didn't even realize it was Josh talking. I kind of tuned into the middle of that. And when he said, when they asked him, it's like, well, why? And he's like, well, I don't know. There's a whole lot of reasons why, who knows what's going on. I suppose it's easier to say that than to open up with, the truth. And because you have to be very careful how you say that without coming across like a paranoid lunatic.
Well,
right?
also it's commercial
Maybe that's
radio.
why-
It was commercial radio as well, and as we found out, 20 plus appearances later, they were more than happy to boot him for talking about the who. So, yeah,
Those who shan't be mentioned.
Well, the question on the table was,
there you go.
Who historically would want to sort of abduct and rape and sacrifice children?
Ashkenazi.
And how do you answer that on FCC airwaves? So I did the absolute best I could. It might even be there somewhere. I don't think I put it out yet. I think I've still got it in the archives on my computer.
I think we decided to keep that one under wraps.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this isn't just a new plan they put underway. I mean, that's what I was going to say with our other guest here. Maybe that's why they needed all those asylums over the years that are multi-acreages, is because not between the people that really like lost their mind in the waking up process, that because it was so sudden and in their face, like what's happening now? I mean, how many people have committed suicide during this? How many people have really lost their freaking marbles because it's too much, too fast? They haven't had the years of awakening that we've all, awakening, whatever, but we've all been paying attention a lot more than they have. And now suddenly it's in their face. So yeah, they're losing their mind. They're losing their marbles. Maybe that's what's happened over the years. Oh man, I'm about to have another brownout. If I don't see you guys after this, I'll try to hop on my phone. But yeah, Martin, what about that? Is it just the people they were trying to lock up, the conspiracy truthers, or was it also people truly losing their nut because of what was going on around them?
There's a couple of narratives out there for social madness in the Victorian era, but in reality, these people, the whole environment for them, it was just, they weren't suited for it. They're stuck in a world built for giants. There's this whole reset realm. And these people, whoever they are, our supposed ancestors, they, most of the people in these asylums were, they're, guilty of being poor or an orphan. These, orphan asylums, just that was their crime. Being poor and not having any parents. So they had these massive institutions because there was that many parents missing. So yeah, savage times. You can only wonder what was going on now, can't you?
Easy on the savage.
Listen, it's a very apt word. Savage.
There's a reason why.
It's easy to do if it's, as far as I can see. They got hold of all the narrative, haven't they? Every aspect of it. The education system, the sciences. Every aspect of this system they hold. So I can see clearly how they could rewrite history and hide the past. I can clearly see how they do it. All of these texts, everything we get is all Jesuit encoded. It's all from the same source, all around. The same time, post major events, probably 460 years ago, around that time.
Martin.
Yeah.
You've got some swanky looking zebra headphones on there, but I
piss off my headphones now,
I don't think you're using them. I don't think you're coming through on them.
Am I?
If you go to the mic and go in the up arrow, just make sure you're using the microphone.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a different audio device selected for your mic.
I'll come back in a minute.
Okay.
Well, that killed it, didn't it?
Well, actually, he should have been able to do it while he was still hot, just
Maybe
by getting a little up arrow.
Yeah, did you guys see Martin? I don't know if it was his last live stream. I think it was. Talking about how Jesus might be a Nephilim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can only
because all the giant statues and pictures of him is so much bigger than everybody else and this and that. Oh, he's gonna piss some people off with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that had to piss somebody off. Wish I could have seen that one. That's what I like about Martin, though. He just tells it like it is. He's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do in these times, you know, in a world of universal deceit. You tell your truth.
Yep. So true. So yeah, anyway, so that's, that's pretty much what my thing was. And I suppose maybe we should try and come up with a little bit more canned answer to that doesn't sound, paranoid or, you know, like you're a complete lunatic. But it is a little bit difficult because the truth is it's crazy. It's just utterly crazy. So
It was always hiding God, wasn't it? Was
Yeah.
what a lot of people said. That was the reason for it. I mean, I'm with you. I think it's multifaceted on
Oh yeah.
all sorts.
Yeah, hiding God is just part of it. I mean, but you're right, it's multifaceted, but ultimately, and hiding God is part of the control mechanism.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. So Martin, did you figure out your microphone?
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Bob.
much better.
Yeah. So who is God then?
I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
I
Or
don't know.
what is God? Should more the question. Maybe.
What did John Lennon say? God is a concept by which we measure
That
our
is a-
pain.
Yeah, exactly. To me, all is mind in this place, and I think that's most of the thing that they're hiding is what we are. What we are able to manifest through positive intent. And changing our vibration, healing ourselves, or lifting the vibration together. They don't want people to do that. That's the last thing. That's why this whole object is to keep us all on a lower bodily vibration. So I think they're hiding our true abilities in this place. I think we a lot more as people.
What do people think about it backfiring? About this actually being, the Great Awakening because of all the people who were on the fence possibly, and were just too busy with work and life and everything else. It was just a step too far to research into this sort of stuff. But
Savage. I don't know what it's going to take for them to wake up. To be honest, at this point, I'm getting really frustrated because the clock is ticking, and people are just waiting for somebody else to go and save them. When all of the countries in the world are all on the same side, we got this massive beast, and nobody, batting for us.
That's what the whole point behind 900-foot Jesus is: sit around and wait for the Messiah to come save you. Don't do anything for yourself because the Messiah's coming. Well, who was
That's
it?
right, guys.
Oral Roberts that saw the 900-foot Jesus.
I think it's working. Tried to get through, on the microphone. I tried to hit crowds, my own city, just try and wake people up that way. It's just where it is everybody. People are just not interested.
Yeah.
I think it's the old case. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Oh, I was just going to say, there are, part of the mainstream is waking up. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw whose video was it? It was actually DITRH's video, and it was called something about a message to Trader Joe's, and it really had nothing to do with being a message to Trader Joe's, but it was this guy who was like an attorney on this council, on a committee that has been investigating COVID. And I mean, it was like a 45-minute thing. I'll post it in the
German
link here in a
guy.
bit. Yeah, it was a German guy. And I mean,
Bunch of lawyers, bunch of medics.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Yeah.
Went right down the line with all, nothing escaped, his 45-minute talk. He was pretty much 100% on top of it. They're, obviously going to take this before the World Court. And I'm just wondering, when he's going to turn up dead, or who's going to turn up dead, or, how this is going to all work out. But, and I just think that it's important that people see that, that specific clip, even because at least he comes across as incredibly credible. And, he lists it out very well, what they're doing and the crimes that have been committed, who it's affected, just everything, the whole 9 yards. And I think that if they are allowed to actually play this out to the World Court, that's going to be great. But as Martin just said, and I've said this forever, it is a battle of time. You know, it's like, who's going to wake up before? Are they going to get us before everybody wakes up, or the other way
The
around?
movie was titled Crimes Against Humanity or something along those lines. Been several variations, but what it actually offers is a bona fide laid out evidence that anyone can use to go up against in court against the government, their governments worldwide. It lays out the masks, the vaccinations, the efficacy of the tests, everything, the bogus figures they've been. So it lays down a groundwork for anyone to start legal action or lawful action. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and it needs to get out there, you know, because you can bet your bottom dollar that, you know, as soon as YouTube figures out that that wasn't a message to Trader Joe's, they're going to start taking it down. And I'm sure it probably is already on the hit list for Facebook and YouTube. And it's just something that, you know, we've got to share and share and share and get it out there and hope that the right eyes see it, you know, that can do something about it, that are in a position to, you know, litigate it.
Well, these guys aren't you know, in the mama's basement either. They're lawyers, doctors, medics. They're not mucking around, and they're taking it to a court. I don't know if the World Court is. I mean, is that run by the UN or something? You know?
Yeah, if that's the case, we're doomed already.
Well, this is
the
the
UN
point.
is totally complicit.
The only real courts in existence are grand juries and court de jures or commonal courts. But we have a problem with enforcing decisions made by these courts. But maybe not now going forward, because, like I say, so many people are waking up to all of this stuff, including the law. It's lovely to see the law stuff being brought back up. I'm sure Josh is happy about that. You've probably been studying it as long as I have. As far as I can see, it's one of the most powerful weapons we've got. Is real law, natural law, in order to enforce this. We just need the people behind it to enforce it and back it up. Basically, the army should be on our side. That's what they're there for, to protect us from insurgents, domestic and foreign.
Yeah, and from what I understand, Amazon apparently just issued a couple $100 million in credits for the army to go around in the UK and hand out COVID tests.
Yeah, it's happening. That's
Yeah.
street. There's a guy who just pulled them absolutely brilliant. Two soldiers from the RAF. He's saying, well, why are you trying to intimidate people in a uniform? They don't have to have the test. But yeah, the army going door to door in Birmingham.
Yeah, the army need to wake the hell up and realize, well, everyone needs to wake the hell up, public servants, and realize that the people that are issuing these orders from the top down are compromised. And the only way around this is for the people on the bottom end of the public servant employees to take it further up and, if necessary, arrest their commanding officers. Yeah, fat bloody chance.
Yeah,
You
it
never
could
know.
happen. You never know.
I've got to speak it into existence, because it was only this time last week I was pleading with Simon Dolan and not Jeremy, Piers Corbyn, that someone needs to prosecute the police on a private prosecution, or however they want to do it, but someone needs to prosecute these people individually. We can't wait around for a judicial review, which is basically synonymous with kicking the can down the road in the UK, as we've seen with Simon Dolan's case. He may have raised £250,000, but it's not going anywhere at the moment. But this week alone, we've seen Piers Corbyn coming out, launching his own campaign that he is prosecuting those that attacked him and unlawfully detained him.
I saw that story. I didn't read it all, but I saw it go by.
It's huge. I mean, it is huge. If people don't understand the weight behind this, or the consequences of what this could achieve, then they're missing a beat, because they only need one court case, and in that they have to then prove that COVID, A, is a thing, B, that the legislation is legal, is lawful, is not infringing on our human rights. All these things have to come out, and it's a very cheap process to do it as well, as far as I'm aware. I mean, I've prosecuted people before privately, and it's sub £1,000. So, come on, people. If the police
exactly.
or anyone, if you have suffered harm in any way, if you've been prevented from working, if your kids are being victimized at school for not wearing a mask, if you've not been allowed to travel, if you've been detained by the police or harassed in any way, then you have a tort of trespass against all these people individually, right up to the Prime Minister and beyond.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is the Illuminati and the elite are not going to be able to throw their little blanket of, well, we're going to put you in the club if you play ball with us. They can't do that with everyone. And eventually, when it starts getting to the point where these actions start affecting not only people in a position to do something about it, but more so their families, that is when the shit's going to hit the fan. And they're walking a really, really fine line on that right now. But again, it's a race. It's a battle with time.
I mean, someone like David Weiss could sue the hospital that wouldn't let him see his mother for absolutely no apparent reason. That is
Nick, who was stuck away from home for, what was it, 8 months?
Nick, absolutely, yeah. I don't know what court you'd bring this to. Maybe the International Court of Human Rights. I know they're not affiliated with, or the European Court of Human Rights. They're not affiliated with the UN. But even then, if we know, if people can get together with people like Carl Lentz or any of these other law gurus, and there are them out there that have been doing this stuff for 20 years, then we can really start holding feet to the fire on this sort of stuff. And it needs to happen. This really needs to happen.
Yeah, it definitely does. So we're getting there. But somebody's got to be in the position to do that. But the best thing that we can do is just keep trying to get the message out through social media. Get it out, share it with your friends, your family, get it out personally. People have really got to be vocal about this and not be afraid to talk about it. Because the best way to approach this that I found is to bring up the things that people can relate to, right? And people can absolutely relate at this point to the insanity of COVID. And, you can kind of take it forward from there. You say, look at what they're doing. They have essentially ruined the entire middle class. They've bankrupted, 60, 70, 80% of the small businesses, at least in the US and probably all over the world. And people can see this because it's hitting them at home. It's hitting their families at home. And, when you can relate to them on that level, then you can kind of take it a little bit further, because now all of a sudden you have something that you can agree on, and you can then elevate that discussion. And when you can do that, then you're actually starting to be able to reach people. And so that's the technique that we have to use, in doing our part to spread this message.
Sorry, and I keep getting distracted with my lights dimming here, and I'm afraid I'm probably going to get dropped out here any second.
How close are you to the eye of the storm wall?
Not at all. We're getting the front run of it as it's coming on shore, so we're getting like the leading edge right now, so it's gusty, and that's what's going to wind up blowing a branch or something into a line. In fact, I just talked to my son. Sorry, I have to pop in and out, but he was letting me know that there's already some lines down between him and I. So there's, probably be losing you guys. So my apologies if I do pop out again.
Well, we'll miss
But
you.
yeah, it's definitely something that we can do if everybody would just do it and stop waiting for that person that's going to save them, or that vote that's going to fix it all, or the whatever savior they keep thinking is going to do it. That's the frustrating part, is the people that even are, sort of on a path of potentially waking up, get sidetracked with all these plans are supposed to trust, or whatever the frick. Oh, it's frustrating, very frustrating. But as you know, with the First Amendment, is it the First Amendment audits, Josh? I'm probably really more not the person to talk about this. Second Amendment, third, which one is it?
First, freedom of speech. Second,
First,
right to bear arms.
They do Second Amendment audits too on occasion. Those can end up a little more scary, but usually First Amendment, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, things like that. Mm-hmm. That's a really good way to hold them accountable. What do you think that the degree of accountability is directly related to the degree of control that they're exerting now? As the accountability draws closer and closer, their control draws down tighter and tighter. This whole game of waking people up versus trying to control them, it's a race, really, to that razor's edge where this whole thing hangs in balance.
Yeah, it could be likened to cornering a wild animal. It's they dropped the hammer on this because I think they realised we were waking up way too quick, and I think Flat Earth had a lot to do with that. And it's a cornered animal you're seeing here. This is an optimistic view, because there's no point talking about the other view because it's so damn depressing, and we're all screwed and waiting for a savior. That's not the answer. I see desperation on their part. I mean, banning alcohol in pubs in Scotland because of COVID. I mean, what? How many people aren't going to see that for what it is, which is absolutely bugger all to do with any bullshit virus they've made up?
Honestly, hasn't anybody proven that like alcohol kills the germs or?
No.
And it probably does. So many things kill COVID. It wouldn't surprise me if alcohol did. And you could prove that. Hey, no, drinking the alcohol.
What good is? What
me and
good
Adam are proving it now.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Rub it on your hands or something? Well, you're going to take a bunch of alcohol and just rub it on your hands and somehow
on your nose
disinfect your hands? What are you going to sanitize your hands with a bunch of alcohol? What kind of nonsense is that?
I just figured the pubs would be like, well, we can't pass on the COVID because we're all the alcohol. It kills the germs. It's just a fun. It's a Friday silly, Josh. It's just a Friday silly.
I know.
No, it is. It's an absolute standing joke. I mean, what is going on is a complete joke to anyone who is not utterly brainwashed by mainstream bullshit.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, obviously we all heard that Trump, got the COVID, and he went in the hospital and I assume treated with something. Did they say what he was treated with? Did he get the new vaccine or?
No, they
experimental drugs, I heard.
Yeah,
really?
He insisted they use something he heard about, and I forget the name of it. It
wasn't hydroxychloroquine, though, right?
It was not the hydroxychloroquine.
Regeneron.
It was what?
What?
Regeneron.
Regeneron? What was that? That plasma-based stuff? Isn't that what I remember?
Yeah, based on aborted fetals.
Kid's blood, I bet. No.
Oh, are you serious?
No, yeah. That was out today.
And he wants to make it available to everybody for free. So yeah, be careful.
And all you've got to do is give up your first child. That's it.
Now, Josh, when I make those sillies, keep in mind I do read the news stories, and some of the latest news stories are showing that the real danger with COVID is are you ready? It works like opiate, a painkiller, and people, what it's doing is it's causing pain to people, but the painkiller part of it is killing the pain, so people don't know that they have any symptoms. But it's dangerous because they are getting the symptoms. It's just that the COVID is producing an opiate-like response that's killing the pain, even though.
And knocking out the fever.
So, and knocking out the fever. It's taking care of those, but it's producing this. So how can I not come up with alcohol at the pubs or shit like that when they throw at me that it's still very dangerous? It's just that it's producing symptoms, or it's producing effects that kill the symptoms, but that doesn't change the danger level.
I was just laughing at hand sanitizer because it's like literally alcohol they use to kill the, virus. Nothing like some antibacterial to kill your virus. Oh, by the way, viruses aren't really living, but you're going to kill it.
But we see today, wasn't it? The CDC came out and said that they can't provide samples of COVID because they're not available.
Right.
I.e., what we've been saying since March, that Koch's postulates have never been conducted on this so-called COVID, and it's never been isolated, and therefore, how can you test for something that's never been isolated?
Well, they can't.
So in one fell swoop, they've admitted that, that the COVID-19 is as provable as fairy farts, and that they can't test for it. So what the hell are we all doing?
And yet it's creating opiate-like effects that kill that mask the symptoms. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really, really is something else.
Adam, what were you going to say?
That would be interesting. I've not really researched much recently. I'm just doing now, just on a quick search on Regeneron. It's supposed to be an artificial antibody treatment. So the thing about an antibody is, of course, you need to isolate surface protein to raise the antibody to lock on to any virus. Interesting. So, as you were saying, John, they've not identified it. They've got tests for it, but they've now got an artificial antibody for it. I mean, to me, when you saw Trump and all up in the tree, I'm going outside, baby. I'm going outside. He looked jacked up on steroids to me. I thought that looked a great case of steroid euphoria, more than anything. So I don't know what they've given him. My suggestion, it probably is, he was already on a prophylactic dose of hydroxychloroquine, and any impact he's had has been minimised anyway. I don't. His so-called recovery has been somewhat dubious. Didn't look like.
I reckon he got the sniffles like my kids did last week. Sorry, I was just saying, I reckon he got the sniffles like my kids did last week.
That sort of thing, that's what I mean. Now, whether that is a prophylactic effect, and they don't still, for whatever reason, he's gone quiet on it, and I thought it was interesting. Now, a great exponent of chloroquine, somebody didn't mention it, and now we're mentioning the Regeneron. I love that. It's like really RoboCop. So, I don't know. It's all a bit dodgy, isn't it? All of the narrative doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah.
There was one bit I wanted to add on, that really powerful German lawyer. He presented a lot of good stuff, from, I'd say, questionability of even identifying what COVID is, bullshit of the PCR tests, and a lot of stuff. But I think the reason we're not seeing it run is he was quite explicit also, I thought, in terms of stating the culpability. Well, not only just the culpability of politicians, but I think not even indirectly, he outlaid the pre-planning and named certain names at very spurious events that seem to be precursors to the way in which the COVID outbreak was then dealt with. And I think it's one hell of a hot potato. There's lots of it, I think, that people act on, but that's the last bit that I think is probably the reason. I don't know who said it, it'll probably get bumped off. It was great to see it.
I'm not sure it matters if he does get bumped off. There's a lot of people behind him.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
And if he does get bumped off, that will make him superpower. You know?
Well, yeah. Depending on how many people. I don't know how viral this has gone or how many people have seen this, but obviously he has people behind him. But it's important that a lot more people see it, so that they know that somebody somewhere is taking an action and has spelled out the specific, the specifics of this.
Yeah, I would like a transcript of that video. I don't know if he must have been reading it, or I'd love to maybe try and contact him, get a transcript of that video, because it literally is laying out the evidence that anyone would need to bring a case before their dictatorial, authoritarian overlords. But if he did get bumped off, it would sure as hell go viral after that. So he needs to fake his own death. Only kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I'm making you a transcript right now, John.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you knew you could do this or not, but you can pull a transcript right off the video itself.
I did. I may have known that, but I wouldn't know how to.
Yeah, I'll put it in a text document and send it over to you. But yeah, it's real simple to do.
That's cool. Maybe we need to host it on a website like globebusters.com.
If I'd just been rumbled, right, John, if I'd just been rumbled and realised I was never going to get a vaccine for people to have put in them. But actually, what you could be given is a synthetic antibody that honestly would only ever attack the virus. I think that could be the next. Could we stick this in there instead?
Sorry, how do you mean? What's sorry?
Well, this is a monoclonal antibody, which is the same. It's based on the same kind of supposition as to supplement the immune system. Whereas with the vaccine, you tend to give a bit of particulate matter that your own immune system can then generate antibodies to. This thing is a synthetic produced monoclonal antibody, so it's trying to claim in that it's just you can stick the antibody in and it treats and just attacks the COVID. By the looks of it, it's receptor-sites. They're like a big Y-shaped thing that suckers, and these suckers kind of lock onto the kind of protein surface markers.
Excuse my ignorance, though, but how does it attack COVID when COVID's never been isolated?
Well, that was my first point. Interesting that they can raise that in monoclonal, not only just antibodies, isolate antibodies and so on, but synthetic, and then build synthetic monoclonal antibodies.
I got you.
That's even more interesting.
So, in your special way, you're calling bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I said the only thing I can think is, look, honestly, it's not a vaccine anymore. It's monoclonal antibodies. Can we stick this in there? Next, they'll be claiming there's been studies showing that the body seems to not only just accept these antibodies, but it seems to replicate and supplement the immune system. There'll be some dodgy thing like that. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, let's put it in the water. Let's give it to everybody. If it's just a big immune booster, health benefits galore, shit. I'll take some. Fucking make it 2. Make mine a double.
Add a bit of lithium while you're at it.
Fucking right. Some statins. Why not?
Right. Make things just like a nice, even hum. Shoot.
And a little bit more fluoride.
Where's the TV? Let's do it.
Just liquidize babies
more fluoride, Gabby. I want the vaccine.
More fluoride. More fluoride. Because if a little is good for you, then a whole bunch must be. Yeah. That's crazy what they do and say afterward in the name of science. It's very pathetic.
Greatest awakening ever.
I'm having more fun in the chat. In the chat, by the way, you guys.
Right, I'm trying. It's so distracting. I'm trying not to be in there.
Oh, but it's so much fun. I have the confirmation. I just got the confirmation. For the first time ever, we will have Globebuster t-shirts available. Woohoo! At Flattoberfest. We also have journalism shirts available, and I got the order and the proofs and everything. So we're going to be doing t-shirts that we've never done before. So many people have asked over so many years.
Well, then flat. Sorry.
So at Flattoberfest, yeah.
I was just going to say they need journalism needs to bring out Maverick t-shirts.
That's a good idea too.
Maverick
Right?
Bear.
Hell
Free shipping
yeah.
to Australia.
Oh, no.
Oh, look who it is. And
You
Now-
came back in time for us.
Happy Saturday, Rob.
What's going on, Rob?
TGIS.
Hey, Rob. Just so
Hey,
you
everyone.
know, yeah, the journalism t-shirts are Maverick t-shirts. I'm doing this. I did tell Jaron I was doing it, but what I am doing is when I ordered to do Globebusters with the new baby and that, I said, Jaron, can I make up t-shirts with your name on it, order them, pay for them, and then when we get here, you can have all the proceeds of the sale to help Maverick. So they really are Maverick t-shirts for the journalism shirts. So they're special edition
Excellent.
Maverick shirts.
Excellent.
That's
You could
really
shorten.
awesome.
You could shorten that up instead of having the whole Jaronism. Just put Jism on it.
Oh, yeah. I hate that. I hate that. I really do. So, that was one of the very, very first. By the way, people, you'll notice it's never ever in the Globebusters chat. When you do a global ban and word block, that was when I learned about the global thing. That's the one word I put in there was jism.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for that contribution there, Rob.
Yeah.
No problem.
Welcome back to the
I'll-
show, Rob.
I'll sign out.
We've got that flat fellow in chat saying, "Are you all doing any experiments at your booth, Cami? If so, can you talk a little bit about it?" Look at me reading chat.
Look at
Well,
you go,
look
John.
at that reading chat. Look at
Dude,
that.
is what day is this? Write it down.
Multitasking.
Well, that flat fellow, we will. I don't know if we're going to be doing any tests, but I will have. I just popped it on camera. I will have Polaroid filters and crystals and a refractometer and miroscopes and a CRT tube and lots of magnets and a
Nice.
ferroscope. And in other words, it will be very, very hands-on. I don't know if I'm doing an experiment per se to the scientific message, prove exactly how this works and writing it out. We're not doing that type of experiment. So I hasten to use the word experiment. We will be showing examples of how the world works and things that really happen in nature, in reality, that answer a lot of the questions that we're scratching our heads on so desperately, when, in my humble opinion, a lot of our answers are staring at us, at least not maybe the answers, but the possibilities that are looking at us that we know about. We understand polarity, we understand refraction, we understand double refraction, we understand so much really well. And what they did is they turned it into math. So people are scared.
We've got a challenge as well, haven't we? We've got a challenge for anyone who's listening, or anyone knows anyone who's listening, or 7 degrees thereof, who can make a metal miroscope.
Oh, we have exactly one metal miroscope. That is something. Anybody that's got a 3D printer, if you're capable of making me a couple of parabolic dishes, like a 9-inch would be a dream come true. I'm behind looking for Polaroid filters right here, and I'll show you a small. I can show you a small miroscope dish.
Hey, if you had a 9-foot miroscope and that you could actually get into and stand in the middle, you could create a hologram of yourself above it, couldn't you?
Yes, you
Yes,
could.
you could.
Yes, you could. If
That'd
you
be
had
cool.
a 9-foot,
Wouldn't it?
Awesome. I want it now.
if you had a 9-foot miroscope, you would be my hero. I would be over there all of the time, because you could also elevate it and put it above you. This is actually two type Ameriscope with two
So
tops.
we need the we need we need the Hubble back. We've got
Mhm.
something useful to use it for. We want that back as taxpayers. Give us back our Hubble.
Yeah, get it out of that airplane.
And it ain't 9 foot either, I doubt.
Mhm. With like at the thing, we'll be doing that flat fellow, little things that anybody can get for a couple cents a piece. These are Polaroid filters. And with Polaroid filters, I should be showing you the Faraday effect just on me, where I'm getting darker and lighter. Now, I don't know if this is working good with the filters.
Well,
Yeah, we
sort
can
of,
see it.
except it's not being done with electromagnetic waves. But
It's not done. No, but I know, but electromagnetic waves have the same. You know, it's looking really bad through this screen. It does better in person. Electromagnetic create the exact same effects in that. In other words, if you look at the optical effects created by it, I can show you it done with electromagnetics. We can share that on video and doing it too. But just simple things that people think of the Faraday effect. They think of circular polarity. They think of it as things that I can't wrap my head around because all I see it is math written on a page, and it's ugly and it's hard. But it's really, these things are not formulas on page. They're things that really happen in nature, and you don't need to look at the math to see them happen.
Do you?
And Zach, you're bringing your Van de Graaff. Sorry,
Zach is bringing his Van de Graaff, and he's bringing. Go ahead, Zach. Talk on.
An electrophorus, an electroscope,
gyroscopes,
a couple gyroscopes. One just to feel what it feels like, and the other one we're going to have on the gimbal setup so you can push it around with a magnet.
What about your mental? What about your mental magnets that you've
Yeah, I'll be bringing
together?
those too, and people will be able to feel the difference between the magnetic, you know.
yeah, because
force that is
it's a
created.
really weird feeling when you kind of play drop it. You know, I mean, you feel a resistance there, a hesitation there.
Yeah,
So you
that's
carry
mad.
that out, and it's like it's going to have something to change in free fall, and that's why we really need to do this. We need to find a place indoors, hopefully, that we can do this.
You need
I
the
know the only
UN
one
bill.
I've found so far is it's all outdoors. Now with this COVID thing, it's like impossible.
You need a
People don't want
cathedral. You need to send it to the UK, and we'll take it to a cathedral.
We need a dirigible.
Well, they used to make lead shot, didn't they, off the top of cathedrals, because they fall down and form spears and make little lead shot.
Is this a lead into the church story that we have in chat?
Go for it. It is now.
Oh no! Somebody take that story. That was awful. The Louisiana story, where you had people. I'm holding magnets, by the way. These are so cool, pullers. Things I'll be bringing are magnets for people to play with, hold, and feel. But let's go back to the church where somebody saw a light on at the church at night and walked to the window and peeked
You're gonna
in.
like this, Rob.
And I guess the priest was on the altar with the camera set up and 2 dominatrixes and toys and everything with the Facebook posts on the dominatrixes. We're going to go defile the house of the Lord tonight.
This is a story about the priest shagging people on his altar, isn't it?
Yeah, he shagged 2 women on his altar with the whole point of the night was defiling the church. It's actually quite disturbing.
Sorry to lower the tone there, but I just wanted to put it into layman's terms.
Yeah, telling it the way it is.
Both of the gals, I guess, were professional dominatrixes and
We got a phone number?
adult film stars. You really want them? That's disgusting. Is that what you want?
Shit, yeah.
Uh,
Who doesn't want to be whacked? Slapped.
We're all going to get whacked after this.
And we wonder why the hurricane keeps hitting Louisiana. No, I'm just
So, are there still tickets available for Flatober Festival.
Yep, lots of them.
Good stuff. You're not meant to say that, Bob.
Well, and the South Carolina governor just released the restrictions on restaurant capacity, so we could really theoretically have a lot more people there because the venue itself will hold a lot more people.
They restricted us
That's
down
great to
to, I
hear.
think, 333 by just having it at a very lowered capacity, maintaining it. But South Carolina just opened up restrictions and said restaurants that are full capacity. So before we were going to have to cut it off at like between 300 and 350 or something like that. And I don't think we're going to have to do that. So we'd be thrilled to. I mean, again, this is a local meetup. This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be bigger than we thought starting up. So coming up close, I'm getting really excited.
Biggest thing this year.
It
Yeah,
is.
the only thing this year.
Oh, no, you've ruined it again, Bob.
I know. I know.
There's not loads of tickets. There's a few left if you get there quickly. Got to stop all these Shriners buying tickets.
Left turn really quick. By chance, Cammy or Bob or anybody else, have you ever watched the channel Chris Ramsey? He's a magician, sleight of hand. He does puzzles on screen.
He's my favorite. I watch him all of the time.
Okay, did you see the invisibility shield that the guy made?
Yeah.
For him?
Oh, yeah. I saw
When
the
you were playing
invisibility
with,
shield before Chris made it. I saw the guy's first version of it.
You
I've
saw
been watching
right. I
this guy
watched the
build
other
them.
guy's channel
Yeah.
too. Right. I watched his
Yeah.
channel. Okay, so I couldn't find it. I don't know where it is in my history, and I didn't want to go that far back, so I just went straight to Chris's. Okay, well then I'm not playing. Y'all aren't playing catch up. Well, so yeah, that idea combined with your mirror shield, and man, we got to figure this out because I mean, when I saw that, and then you crossed them again a while ago, I thought about all that stuff you play with lenses and polarization and.
Again, I wish I did it better on this camera. It would do I can try it one more time. I'm going to clean the filters a little bit. But these things, it's not, when I'm using them in my models and looking at them, it's not that I'm using them because they could be out there. An electromagnetic model demands that they are out there. It's not, are they there? It's like, where are they? Where do we identify that it's taking place? We know for a fact that if you have an electromagnetic model, you're going to have the Faraday effect. It's not, again, you have to step away from the math, quit being scared of it, and see what's really happening. We're going to play with some of this when we do a Bitches Brew show a week from Sunday on my channel. And let's see if I can. Okay, let's see.
So that flat fellow is the chiropractor. Is that right?
I don't know. It
No.
just kind of sounded like it because he said he'd have a booth and he's going to be doing adjustments.
I just
what I
read that.
thought.
I want to go now. I'm headed that way.
Yeah, who's the?
I mean, I heard there was a chiropractor turning up, and he
Oh,
was
I know who it
cooking.
is. It's Dr. Law.
Dr. Law.
Dr. Law's the chiropractor. Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Law. He's also making us pad thai, I think.
Yeah.
He's a fabulous cook. As you guys watch me fade in and out on the screen, which I just
I
did.
saw you doing magic, you witchy woman. You.
Yeah, that was just spinning things. I have the same pieces of paper right in front of the camera. I'm not changing. You're looking through two Polaroid filters, and all I'm doing is rotating them. But by rotating them, you get a different field. And this we know is happening. Where could it be happening in our model? I don't know.
Yeah.
Eclipses would be a good place to look for it because of the fact that it does act like that in an eclipse. And if you add a third filter in, you can produce the red right in the middle too. But this is fun stuff. Just again, possibilities. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Go Busters.
I watch her fade in and out all day, Walt. So
And it's not just fun stuff. This is fundamental stuff.
Exactly. It's
that we
very
need to know
fundamental.
about.
I spend all day getting
Ultraviolet
faded.
lights, what they can do, what they can pick up, what you see differently, how you see differently. Everybody in this community is familiar with infrared and how much further you can see, but nobody really
Way
goes
to flashy thing, everybody, Cam. And now we're going to start the whole show over. Okay. Hello,
Okay.
everybody. This is
But the ultraviolet light, we're going to flash you again. The ultraviolet light. You know how you can see so much further on the infrared? You can see so much shorter on the ultra. In other words, if you put a lot of ultraviolet, the atmosphere around you kind of glows, takes on a hazy, a huge amount of haziness to it. So if you're looking under ultraviolet light, as much as you see clearness under that infrared, you see total haziness under ultraviolet. So if you, yes.
What about if you used ultraviolet light on a microscope, like to see small things?
Well,
Oh, is that what that is?
This happens to be, that's a 10 power lens that's got a UV on it. I have it also on microscopes, but this is just a cheat. And you do that all of the time. In reality, when you're trying to determine what things are, it's a little cheat. You can really quickly hold a rock
Do you
and that's
think Raymond Rife did use that with his microscope?
I imagine he would have for sure put some ultraviolet. Well, no, the ultraviolet tends to kill
He
germs, and so it
actually
would be a
would
different
use different
infrared,
gases,
different gases in that.
and it would change the refractive rating.
That's interesting.
Yeah, to where he would like eliminate it, and he could see super sharp.
That's
That guy was so smart.
Yeah, he would use the different gases, and then he would put different lights on it, and then it would heterodyne, and it would actually bring things that were out of the visible spectrum down into or up into the visible spectrum where you can see it. It was amazing. That guy was a genius.
And I wonder if we could use that on long distance.
Photography and set the
Yeah.
different, yeah.
Yeah, fill
Yeah,
a
it's good.
telescope with noble gas or something. I don't know.
Well, no, the thing about it is the noble gases tend to fluoresce to ultraviolet light, and that's what I mean is when you say you can't see very far, a lot of the time is when you can't see very far, it's as simple as the UV in the air. I also think that on the same basis that you're talking about UV and how far you can see at night when these are not as present, I think your radio waves and that also, it follows a lot of the same just basic common sense and
And that
again
makes a
dealing
lot of
with that,
sense.
right?
Like nighttime propagation on HF.
I've
and-
got some pictures somewhere. I'm gonna find them and send them to you where you can see the different gases layering and fluorescing so well.
So,
in one of these
exactly.
over here off of
And
World.
they did, the noble gases do tend to fluoresce to the UV, and the UV tends to make everything very hazy and blurry. And so it's again, something that when we can look at daylight, why is it light around us before the sun actually hits and shines on us like a direct light? It's because the atmosphere is being lit up. The gases around us are being lit. So it's not all direct sunlight. It's not like a spotlight in a dark room where it's only shining on you. You have that experience, but that's not how the sun works. The sun is also hitting the spectrums that we're not seeing with our eyes and is illuminating things around us. It's pretty, again, common sense what's going on.
I'm going to have to speak it into existence again because I'm finding this is working. But we need a zetetic university. We need a campus. We need labs to test all this shit. Look what Zach did with his warehouse floor and a couple of paint cans.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could do with a warehouse with people just dedicated to experimenting.
Yep, and a decent budget. I mean,
Yeah.
so many things are really, I mean, a lot of this stuff is not that expensive to do. Some of it is, but the tests themselves aren't that ridiculously high to, carry out. And I think once you get a decent amount of test equipment, you can actually start carrying out a whole lot of different tests that, could be very helpful. We could open up ZU, Zetetic U.
Yeah, I know that, like, for instance, in the Miroscope, I have been working with little Miroscopes that are literally plastic, and they're mirroring the optical properties, and they're also mirroring some of the other properties, but these are little plastic dishes. Can you imagine what the results would be if I actually had something that could columnate, something crystalline, which your metals are crystalline, not plastic, something not synthetic that would actually work more akin to nature? I think my results would be augmented over 100 times will tell you the truth on a lot of the things like the temperature results when we do the thermometer. It's something I would love to do.
Have
If
you
anybody's,
heard of Alibaba?
is that a place to shop for, or what is Alibaba? Sounds like a
Yeah,
market
it's
name.
like it's a marketplace from China or whatever. Literally, whatever you want, you just put the specifications out there, and people come back and bid on it. I mean, you'd have to buy 10,000 of them or something along there, or 100 of them.
Right, right. But that's
There's
a.
nothing they can't build.
I
Basically,
know there's nothing they can't build, but it's a. Again, it's like having a university or something that I'm not the person. I'm the
we
person that
need
I'm the
pre-orders.
person that yeah no well I'm the person that has orders the equipment and I can use the equipment and work with it. But as far as obtaining and personally buying all of the equipment, and that's where a university or some type of setup where we could have a decent shared lab.
Well, this is where I see FE Core coming into its own. They're already have the right status. They can apply for grants, etc., etc.
Yeah, we just need more money.
Yep.
And the grants, if we can get the grants, you betcha. But like everything else, COVID just knocked the crap out of us.
Yeah, yeah. But they've gone through they've jumped through all the hoops and dotted all the I's and crossed the T's to get charity status.
You okay?
Everything else that would be ideal. Imagine that FE Core Uni.
Indeed.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. John, did you ask me a question?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I'm ignoring you now.
All right. I'm sorry.
How many kidding?
I'd go back to school if there was an FE university.
Hell yeah.
We have
No,
Kyle.
Zach, you'd teach school if there was an FE university.
Exactly. We have Adams who's making the Flat Earth University, right? So
Dr. John D, I'm sure we could offer him a whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Doctorate grant.
Yeah, some sort
Rodrigo.
of Yeah,
I'm
Rodrigo.
sorry, I keep hearing something hitting the side of the house, and maybe something just blowing around out there. I'm gonna go check it. I'll be right back.
With a cat.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just a cat, unless it's a cat blowing in the wind. That'd be bad.
That's what I was talking about. Raining cats. Oh dear. Well, it's nice to spitball these things, because what I'm finding is if you don't speak it, then it doesn't happen. But quite often, if you do speak it, it happens.
That's true. Hey, while we're not talking about this, Martin, just out of curiosity, did you take any flack about your thoughts about Jesus being, a giant? Did you take a bunch of crap for that by any chance?
Yes, Bob, all day long.
I'll bet you did.
I knew that it was coming, but I'm not really that bothered, to be honest with you. There's nothing I don't do without any thought put into it. I know exactly what I'm doing. It just bugs them.
What's the kickback about a giant Jesus?
Well, I'm a blasphemer. I'm not going with the written scripture, am I, John? So I'm a blasphemer. I've been accused of being blasphemer. Very sinful.
Because it wasn't written in scripture that he was a
I've
giant.
been arguing it all day. So, you've got to mediate to Jesus. So I'm before Jesus Christ, we couldn't actually communicate with the Creator because we had to mediate, and there was no mediator available.
I'm just wondering what the sticking point is. I mean, who cares if Jesus was
I don't.
5'4" or 10'12"? Who cares?
Well, to be honest, it was just
twat.
for a video, historical context, take it or leave it like everything else. But, in my mind, we were all giants in the past, yeah? And this place was built for giants, so it stands to reason that Jesus was a giant. Plus, there's a bit of a lineage. Looks like he was a 25th generation Nephilim. Plus, probably a Phoenician, definitely Phoenician. So, I was quite happy to do it. I don't care what flag comes, Okay. Like I care.
That's the
I hear
spirit.
you.
If you don't talk about it, then no one can discuss it.
But I just, when I heard that, it's like, oh boy, I wonder how much
Well, look,
that's
it's
gonna.
it's like Girona, Bob. Yeah, in a minute, right? Which is happening now is going to be it's the same as being a Holocaust denier. This is becoming a criminal offence to speak. Did you have a letter off YouTube on the 1st of October? Did you? Email?
I don't know. I may have. I don't ever check that from YouTube. Why?
Well, a load of nutty rules about you're not allowed to mention anything to do with COVID on your channel. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
a bit of a loop. You could talk about it, but not in a negative context in any way. No alternative therapies, anything like that. Just is not.
Yeah, carry the company line, and that honestly, that in and of itself should tell people a lot. When they are dictating to you just exactly what you can and cannot say. It's like welcome to Nazi Germany, right?
Well, how many flat earthers, or not flat earthers, but people who are researching flat Earth, have decided to start researching it because of the censorship, the unbelievable censorship we've endured.
100%.
To a lot of people that says, well, hold on, it's just flat Earth. I mean, that's just bullshit and nonsense and a giggle. But why the hell are they censoring it? So the amount of people that turned on to flat Earth, again, I think they've probably shot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and they really can't stop the news from going after it because the news, they were just like anybody else, brought up to believe that anybody believing in the flat Earth was or living in the Stone Age and our Flintstones cartoon. And so it's a novelty when you believe that there are people that think that there's something going on as crazy as flat Earth, and it's newsworthy, right? But unfortunately, when they get there and they start listening to the arguments, that's when it really turns into a problem for them, and that's why they have to, bring up all the censorship.
Did anybody see Keanu West going flat today? I had a link sent to me. Did anybody see this?
Really? Kanye West?
Yeah.
Wow.
Flattening it up. Somebody sent me a link today, but I wasn't sure whether to talk about it in case it was just all not to be trusted and mashed together on edited piece. So, but it sounds like he's gone flat.
Yeah. Wave 2 is coming.
Flat President West. Yay.
That's
pretty
big.
crazy. Yeah,
He's
it
the
is.
self-proclaimed voice of a generation.
Is what I was thinking, Zach. But we'll see if it's true. I can't say this.
Yeah.
He only came to me about 4 hours ago. I was like, okay.
Could be another Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah. But people might just follow it because he's gone flat, just because, Keanu West is flat. We might look at it now.
Yeah, look how many came in just because of B.O.B. I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
exactly. Massive influx.
I don't know who Kanye West is, but wasn't he the one that came out being flat?
The only reason I know who he is, John, is because South Park made fun of him so bad.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so funny.
South Park yet. I want to see it back.
Yeah.
I've heard, Zach.
No, I think you're thinking of B.O.B., John, not Kanye.
Yeah,
is he a basketball player or something?
No, that's Kyrie Irving.
Oh, John.
It's all mainstream.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Shaq came
Oh,
out
yeah,
and then
boy.
went back.
I'm proud I don't know who these dickheads are. all right?
Actually,
I don't really
you should
care.
be, John. You should be because
John,
they're just
how
a
long have
bunch
you
of
been a flat
morons.
earther? This is flat Earth BC.
But I love the branding of the flat Earth second wave, Bob. I think that is something we could hijack, the second wave, because
Yep.
there will be there's probably been a fifth, a sixth, a seventh wave, isn't there, every year? Did we see that Argentina, there was 12% or something on a poll that was Iru was talking about?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, statistically, flat Earth is just really climbing, and these are mainstream polls that this information's coming out in, and no wonder that the powers that be are freaking out, right?
Yeah, right. And 3 years ago, I mean, flat Earth outflanked Donald Trump on the search engines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 3 years ago, or at least I don't know when it was, but and at that point, at that exact point, they took the floor out from underneath it, didn't they?
Yep. Yeah, it's funny because, a lot of people will come into the comments section and make, snide comments like, "Oh yeah, flat Earth just shows the failure of the education system." And at this point, I go back and I go, "Yep, you're exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. This is a failure of the education system on the indoctrination level, though, right?"
Divine education, exactly. Yeah, indoctrination system failed badly because so many people are questioning it.
Yep. So yeah, so it's great, and we can start turning this around. And of course, that's always the technique that the elites use, right? They turn everything around, make it backwards, upside down, inside out, whatever. And it's like, the way I look at it is, why not do the same thing? People are always coming on Globebusters in the comment section and saying 15 degrees an hour. Thanks, Bob. And I'll go back to them and I'll say, "You're welcome." And isn't it great that I was able to do something that nobody in all the history of mainstream science was ever able to do, and I'm still waiting for my Nobel Prize.
You're going to have to feed the world and join the UN if you want a Nobel Prize, but apparently.
Nobel Prize.
Yeah, the Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize.
Yep, that's why I always do the hashtags Nobel for Nodell and Einstein is my bitch.
Well, I mean, it's true what you say. You had Sagnac and Aries and all these other people that showed this undisputedly, but evidently, over 100 plus years ago. And it takes Bob Nodell to bring it to the forefront, and you are the champion of the globbers now.
Yep, absolutely. And so, yeah, you slap them back with that, and then suddenly, they don't feel so smart anymore.
Oh, didn't know that. It's funny.
It is funny because, yeah, you're right. I mean, you could say, well, what about Michelson Gale? Here you have two bona fide scientists that were highly respected, and they came out and point blank said, "Yep, we got this 15-degree rotation going on." And the Globers could have pointed to them 100 years ago and claimed that there's their ticket to the globe Earth. Even before NASA came into existence, right?
Yeah.
They could have said, "There it is," but they had a big problem with Michelson Morley, so they couldn't go there, and that's why Einstein had to take the route that he did.
I mean, the most influential experiment that I ever researched was the Aries failure, Aries globe Earth failure. I mean, it did take me watching that several times, the Bowden videos and stuff, but when it finally sunk in, how you could measure whether the sky was moving or the Earth was moving, then it just blew me away.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's, the ballers want to accept one type of laser interferometry based on a curvilinear motion. They'll gladly accept that. But suddenly, when the linear motion of laser interferometry fails in its detection of forward motion around the sun, well, they can't deal with that. So then all of a sudden, the ether just can't exist at all then.
Well, for me, it was just the simplicity of filling a telescope with water in order to slow down the light, and you could make a perfect assumption as to what would happen if we were moving or if the stars were moving. And the fact that there was no change, it was absolute poetry. That experiment, the Aries failure, was absolute poetry for me.
Yep. And that's something that FE Core, and we had a great suggestion on that, is just to get two telescopes instead of trying to, mess around with one telescope and filling it with water and doing that. Just get two identical telescopes and fill it with water and just run them side by side and let people see it real time. And that's really the best way to do it.
Yeah, one tilted, one not. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Flat Earth Core University Experiment 101.
Exactly. And I mean, it is utter simplicity. And, it's like, it's so simple, there's no way to argue with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, look, it's an accepted fact that light slows down in water.
Yeah.
Even though the assertion that once it leaves the water, it speeds back up again, which apparently it does, but you have to, then you have to ask, well, how does it do that without breaking, all kinds of laws of physics?
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, is when you start talking about rates of induction,
And what light
into
is,
the
yeah.
ether, and what light actually is, because what they say light is not what light is. And
But what you can say is, like you said, that it slows down through water. So you would have to tilt the telescope if it was us spinning, and it's just a no-brainer for me.
Yep.
Hey, John, and Bob, stars should move 15 degrees across the sky in an hour, shouldn't they?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, depending on what your latitude is, but yes.
Yeah, all right. I just on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, I saw Farok, Phiroc. He posted. He actually measured the stars going across, and they weren't even close to being the 15 degrees. As he, took a measurement every hour for a little while, and the stars were not moving that fast across the sky.
Did he compensate for the latitude? In other words, what you have to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, while you were talking about it just then, I just sort of thought about it. I haven't got it on my screen or anything like that, but I was just thinking about it. Yeah, no, it wasn't even close to 15 degrees.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, essentially, what you have to do, because the only place that's going to happen, where you're going to get the perfect 15 degrees per hour, is right at the equator. But the further north or south you go, especially if you're way south in Australia, that figure is going to be way off. And the way you calculate it is you go 15 degrees times the sine of your latitude. That will give you your rotation rate for, the stars going directly above you. And that's probably going to be down there. It's probably going to be 7, 8 degrees, maybe 6 or 7 degrees. I don't know. I'd have to calculate it, but it's not going to be anywhere near 15.
I'm just thinking he might have been in South Africa, that bloke.
Yeah, well, same thing. It's you're way south down there.
I think so. I think that's where he was. But I wouldn't have thought it would matter. I think it would go across the sky at the same rate, no matter where you were. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm actually with you on that, Rob. I've never understood the sign of the latitude stuff, because it's a rate. 15 degrees per hour is a rate.
It needs to go around. It needs to go around no matter where it is. It needs to go 360 degrees to get back to where it was again.
Yeah, so it's
got
different
24 hours to do it.
Speed. It's different from obviously the further out you go, the faster the speed of the rotation would be, but it would still be 15 degrees per hour. And if you're standing at the North Pole, it would still be 15 degrees per hour, although it would be
this is where it comes into the all powerful reference frame, right? And that's where it gets a little bit confusing, I think, for a lot of people. It's just like, the ballers will make these claims with the reference frame. It's like, okay, so if the Earth is traveling 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, then the moon theoretically would do that with it, right? And so you have to ask the question, well, if the Apollo astronauts, drove up to the moon, why didn't they just get left in the dust? If that spacecraft was only doing 17,000 miles an hour or whatever, maybe a little bit more. And, if the Earth solar system is moving around the sun at 67,000, and the sun, of course, is ultimately going around at, 500,000, and then the next step is 1.3 million miles per hour. Why didn't the Apollo just get left in the dust? Well, their response, well, it's the reference frame. It's that sphere of influence, which of course is horse shit, right?
It's because the atmosphere's velcroed to the Earth's surface, and as we all know now, the moon is within the Earth's atmosphere, clearly.
Yeah.
It just falls apart, doesn't it? As soon as you jump 1 foot off the Earth, it just all falls apart. I was talking Coriolis with my kids today, and they were just scratching their head going, what?
I know. Yeah. We'll see. They want that double standard because then they want Coriolis to be real. It's like, sorry,
No,
one
can't
way or
have
the other,
that.
man. You can't have it both ways.
Absolutely. Either your toupee's attached to your head or it's not. But this is where I don't have a problem with it not being 15 degrees per hour religiously all around the world, because I see it almost as, the ether as a sort of spinning vortex from the North Pole out or whatever that would slow down, that would speed up, that depending on atmospheric conditions or pressure differentials, just as we see with propagation with HF radio and stuff, that sometimes you get through, sometimes you don't, sometimes you can see across the bay, sometimes it's obstructed by incoming storms or whatever. I don't see it as an absolute constant, whatever it is up there, but I see
All
it.
right, John. So so you're going to side with Bob, and you're not going to side with me. Yeah, I know.
No, I already sided with you.
I know.
I said the 15.
I know who you're going to side with.
Yeah. No, and the thing is I'm actually with both of you on that because it really doesn't make any sense. But all right, so this is one of those logical conundrums, right? It's like, okay, like I guess a good analog to it would be the pressure differential, right? You could say that going from 14.7 psi down to 0 psi is no different than going from 28 psi down to 14, right? When in fact we know that's not true, right?
Yeah,
so
wrong.
somewhere in there it breaks down, and it breaks down severely. But when you argue that with a glober, they will come back and like Wolfie did his experiment. Yeah, see what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double my tire pressure, and so he puts 60 pounds of air in his car tire and says, see there, no problem. And it's like, oh, come on, give me a break. Whereas we know full well that if you even go down to like 10 to the -5 torr, you've got to have a 8-foot concrete, steel and concrete wall at the Sandusky vacuum facility, right? I mean, there's a huge difference, and there's a logical breakdown in there somewhere, but on face value, you don't see it, right? And
Yeah.
this is one of those same types of things with the the rotation rate that you guys are talking about. And so I know exactly where you're coming from on that, but putting your finger on exactly where that breakdown is, that's the trick.
I mean, I also bring as sort of witness number one as Aries, again, George Biddle Aries, or whatever his name was, who called the Foucault's latitude by the sign of or times the sign of the latitude. I can't remember what he called it exactly. I've got a quote somewhere, but it was sort of, dubious maths. He didn't know how he managed to get that to work. Or have you read that, Bob?
Yeah, and I don't know what we called it either, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. He brought it into question basically, and Aries, for me, is the Nobel Peace Prize holder.
Yep, but it's just it's one of those very cleverly disguised and hidden logical breakdowns, right? That you can't put your finger on it, but it's wrong.
Something about it. Yeah, exactly. Because you've also got to get your head into the mindset that 15 degrees per hour, the latitude, okay, and we're on a ball and we're spinning, and that's why but in reality we're not on a ball, we're on a flat surface, and the latitude, it's one of those things you've got to juggle the two paradigms in your head, and it's not easy, I don't think, but I'm not sure I buy the sign of the latitude thing.
Well, it may be something that is like, you got I know, Wolfie 60/20 guy is, right? He's always going around making this challenge to flat earthers. Yeah, make this navigation using these coordinates, using, of course, latitude and longitude coordinates. And, he'll do it on a ball, and yeah, it'll come out great. And then he'll say, you do that on a flat earth, and of course it's not going to come out. And it took me a while, to think about that. It's like, well, why doesn't it come out? And then the answer, of course, is staring me right in the face. It's because the latitude longitude system was not made for a flat map. It was
No.
made for a 3D spherical object, and they have overlaid it onto the flat map. And of course, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah,
So
you're trying to prove using their maths or their assumptions. You're
Mhm.
trying to prove something that in reality doesn't actually exist. So yeah, it's really it even 6 years later or 5 years later, it's still difficult to unplug yourself from the spinning ball and plug yourself into the stationary plane in order to get your head around some of this stuff that's coming at you. Yeah.
Exactly. And the flip side of that, of course, is it's like, but what does the military use? They use flat gridded maps, right? They use a grid system on a flat map that is linear, 100% linear all the way. It's a grid system laid out. Now, let's see you use a grid system on a sphere. Nope, not going to work. Why? Because you would have those ever expanding and contracting grid lines, right? And you would not have consistency, in between the lines, the demarcation lines. It wouldn't be consistent, so therefore it wouldn't work. And yet, isn't it interesting that that's how they navigate, for extreme accuracy? That's what the military uses, is these grid maps.
And NASA and
everybody
just
else.
about everyone else we
Exactly.
can find their documentation says we assume that the Earth is a stationary, non-rotating plane. Why do you do that?
Yeah, so essentially the latitude longitude system is nothing more than an elaborate conversion, right? It's a transform from one system, one coordinate system to another one. Brilliant as it may be, that's all it is, right?
And man-made.
Yeah. And so, when you try and apply it to a flat map, a two-dimensional thing, when it was meant for three-dimensional, it's like trying to add a z-axis, right, on a flat map. It's like, it's kind of pointless.
yeah, I like the analogy.
Yep. So anyway, it's just, they always use these tricks. And I did a show years ago, addressing that very thing. It's like, we always, the Globers will always try and take us into this argument using their logic, their math, their systems. And it's like, no, you can't play that game because you'll lose every single time.
Yeah, they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with it. But it's and it's not that complicated, because when you realize you're living on a stationary plane, then things aren't that complicated. There is none of this amazing spinning and whirling and hurtling through space or anything. It simplifies everything to the point where people who thought they were really intelligent because they almost grasped the spinning and the wobbling and the hurtling through space, now think, no, it's too simple. It's too simple that Coriolis doesn't work. It's too simple that they can't contemplate that Earth would have to speed up on one side and then slow down on the other side, and the moon would have to be velcroed to our atmosphere, as we all know it is now. Apparently, it's
it's crazy. Yeah, and
it is. It's mental gymnastics.
Yep.
For the sake of it.
So it's just like kind of like I'm sure Adam can relate to this one. Simon Dan coming out and essentially trying to debunk our circular motion, or what am I trying to say here? He comes out and he shows a guy jumping on a trampoline, right? That's being pulled by a tractor trailer, right? And essentially what he's trying to say is that, because of your inertia, you're being carried along with it, right? But the problem with that is what he's displaying is a linear motion, right? Going straight forward. Now, if you were to take that tractor and drive around in circles and have that same guy jumping up and down on that trampoline, he'd be on his ass in 2 seconds.
That would hurt.
and the air above the trampoline wouldn't be moving with the trampoline.
Exactly.
This is what I was explaining at dinner tonight with my kids about the Bumgardner jump that he spent 3 hours getting up to the height he got up to. Now, how far would the Earth have turned under him after 3 hours? And they were like, okay, well, that would have been an eighth of a so and so, and it was like, right, okay, and it's right next to the Pacific. So after 3 hours, he jumps out of his little module, and where do you think he landed? And they were like, well, in the middle of the Pacific, of course. Well, they didn't say that because they're not bloody ball earth idiots. And they said Arizona, and I was like, yeah, 70 miles away. Explain that one away.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this again, that's the kind of crap that they pull, and uh, it just doesn't work, and who is it? That Dave guy, Professor Dave, did the same thing to us when we were talking about, if you fired a battleship and you're off the equator and you're firing it at a target on the equator, by the time it got there, after its transit time of 60 seconds or whatever it was, it would essentially be a couple miles away from, So Dave comes back, and again, he uses that linear frame of reference instead of a curvilinear, right? To justify that the shot would actually hit, because he's saying that the bullet and everything is all moving in one frame of reference. And like I said, that works great if you're on a linear frame of reference. But the second you put any turn in it, as soon as you put a turn in it, you are technically accelerating, right? You're accelerating around in a circle, and you are not going to hit your target, and it's unbelievable that they actually cannot get their head around that, So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it
Makes me
brings me back
crazy.
to Lord Palmerston, who's the UK Prime Minister, asking the his artillery, how is it that you can, and forgive me for the numbers here, but I think they're firing something like 70 miles away at Paris, and it's like, how can you be hitting Paris if we're living on a spinning ball? Was basically his question. And I don't believe there was ever an answer to it, but that's a prime minister in the 1800s who was questioning. It was the Boer War, I think, or something along those lines. I don't know. Someone will correct me. Maybe Martin knows about this. But it was Lord Palmerston.
First I heard, John. Really interesting.
Oh, right. I'll forward it to you because I think it's in Robotham's book or
Never
someone
knew
along
about
those
that.
lines.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
he was saying, they're firing on Paris 70 miles away or something off the coast. And how is this possible? And his head of the army is just like, yeah, don't worry about that.
Magic.
Yep. Yeah, it's right up there with what was it, Taboo Conspiracy in the Planes, right? That were using the system in the air, and I forgot totally what that was called, but yeah, they would have effectively been over the curvature of the Earth and wouldn't have been able to receive those radio vectors. God, what the heck was that called? Well, anyway, there's just so many things like that. It's beyond belief. Yep.
At this point, your ignorance is an absolute choice. It's all there for anyone who wants to realize that they're a dumbass flat earther, that they can go and look this stuff up.
Yeah.
And even go out and practically try it themselves. I mean, this is the beauty of flat earth, is that you don't have to rely on peer-reviewed papers and idiots with billion-pound telescopes and equipment. You can go and see it for yourself. You can experiment with this for yourself. Look at John D with the lasers. Look at FE Core with the experiments they've done. This is within the grasp of everyone and anyone who cares to look and to stop being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, when this domino falls, they all fall.
They all fall. That's it. And by the way, that was the Nicobine system. Now that I remember that,
Gotcha.
the Nicobine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just stuff like that. And you're right. I mean, yeah, COVID's big, but it still isn't bigger than flat Earth, right? It doesn't even hold a candle to it, really. It's just what they're moving on right now. Because unfortunately, the general public is so dumbed down and out of touch, completely, and subservient to the authority, that they're able to largely get away with it, and it's
COVID is a band-aid. that they tried to stick over flat Earth. As far as I can see, they thought, right, we need to pull the plug. We need to, shut everyone's business down, lock them all up in their houses, scare the shit out of them so they wouldn't talk to anyone. They wouldn't,
shut the pubs.
Shut the pubs,
Yeah.
stop the smoking, do whatever it takes. It's a band-aid over flat Earth that came out in 2014, whatever. We're not going away. It's still here and it's growing, and they can see this. This is an avalanche, a snowball. Just it's coming straight for
It
their.
is. And it's funny because
hideout.
they would like everybody to believe that it's dying out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, R.I.P. flat Earth. It's like, I don't think so.
Oh, they stuck a little speed hump in our way, that's for sure. That there was a long time there that people weren't talking flat Earth anymore. But as this has petered out, and my God, were we right to start with calling this a hoax? As it's petered out, now people who are essentially unemployed have all the time in the world to see what the hell's going on. They're questioning vaccines, they're questioning governments, they're questioning the police, punching old ladies, they're questioning all sorts of things. Bring it on.
For me, John, flat Earth isn't the number one anymore for me. Number one
Really?
for me now. No, number one for me is the kids, and the child trafficking and all that sort of shit. That's number one. That's the shit that I want out there and stopped. And the reason I wanted to come on here today too was I wanted to talk about that the Dr. Sleep movie. If everyone's seen that, and ODD
I've
brought
seen
out
it.
ODD brought out a little 30-minute video about it the other day. Has everyone seen
No,
that?
I haven't seen it, but I do agree with you.
It scared me, Bob. It scared watching that movie because I didn't know what it was about. I just watched the movie. It was on Netflix. Yes, I've still got Netflix. I enjoy watching a movie at night. It was on there, and about 20 minutes in, the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen on TV was on it. A little kid getting tortured, and these people sucked the life out of this little kid, and it made them young. And I was in disbelief of what I was watching. I could not believe it. And then ODD's made this little 30-minute video about it, and absolutely brilliant.
post a link.
So that's the number one for me. That's the number one problem in our world right now. Flat Earth is huge, obviously, but it's not killing anybody.
Exactly, and I agree with you. I mean, we need to be able to save the kids. And honestly, they keep talking about how they're breaking up all these pedophile rings and all this stuff, but you don't ever hear any more about it other than, oh, we just did this and all these, but who was it? Where was it? Where are the kids that were recovered?
It's lacking evidence. It's
Yeah,
lacking tangible evidence, but we know it's happening. But the way I see it is flat Earth is a stepping stone to accepting that this is possible to even happen. Because if you tell anyone about this sort of stuff, they'll just run a mile. Like you say, it's a hideous subject. But if you show them that they've lied about everything you've ever been taught, then this is absolutely possible.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It truly is. And I agree with you, Rob. That's something that, if we could put a priority on, that's something that, save the children. I totally agree. But how do we do that?
And I want to see the headcam, footage of raiding these underground bunkers and releasing 30,000 children and that sort of thing.
Yeah, is that
I don't
believable,
see it.
John, or what?
I don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not believable. It's just that there's no tangible evidence to show that any of this is happening.
As far as the rescues, right, that you're talking about?
Yeah, the rescue.
You're right. There isn't any. They're telling us about it, but they are not forthcoming with any evidence whatsoever. It's just feel good bullshit. And I don't believe for one second that it's actually happening. In fact, I'm sure it's probably very much business as usual for these freaks.
And
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard California last week or the week before dropped the penalties for pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I don't know if they dropped it. I know that somebody was there was advocating.
They lessened.
for
They
it.
lessened. They lessened the
Lessened
penalties.
it. Yeah.
They lessened the penalties for say 2 years to 1 year or whatever the mandatory sentence is. They lessened it. Now that's
yeah,
unbelievable.
It's like, oh yeah, rape a kid, no problem. We'll give you a ticket. It's like, give me a break. I mean, that should be capital crime as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's just hideous,
Well,
to
I
do
think
that.
it's just stepping stones because it's such an unbelievable thing to get your head around, but it's not so unbelievable once you have gone through the rabbit holes that we've gone through to get to this point. I mean, I was researching this child stuff way before Flat Earth, so it's nothing new for me. I was listening to the Starbuck interviews. Anyone heard that? Of them skinning children alive in the New Forest in the UK, and that guy died a week after that interview was given out. But this is adrenochrome all over it, and it's nothing new. I've read testimonies from Satanists, ex-Satanists, that have spilled the beans on secret societies in the UK that have done this. I've heard police interviews where they're in tears describing this sort of stuff. It is not theory. It simply isn't, but it needs to be a lot more out there than it is. And a stepping stone towards that is understanding flat Earth and the moon landings, and everything you've ever been taught since you've been born has been an absolute lie.
Yeah. And go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you tell anybody that people are actually, eating children, or if you want to get, it's hard to put into words what you're trying to say there, but drinking their blood or whatever, they just look at you. What?
Yeah.
As in what
Like
the
you're
hell
the
are you
weirdo.
talking? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But there's so much evidence that they do it. There's monuments and there's cathedrals and there's paintings, there's murals with these sacrifices on them, and there's people worshipping at these places with these things on the walls.
Yeah, what really got me was when I hadn't, I knew stuff like that went on, but I was not really brought face to face with it until Jaron, and this was after we started doing shows together, like 5 years ago, and Jaron came out doing his pieces on the Hampstead kids, right? Do you guys remember that?
Kids.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Oh my
And where
God.
are they gone? They disappeared.
They disappeared. They ultimately, I think, wound up back with their father.
Good grief. The one the BBC did an emotional piece on. It was the father that was alleged the abuser.
Yeah, it was him. It was him.
The BBC decided to side with him and produce a whole documentary from his point of view, which is indicative of the pedophile-run BBC. That, yeah.
It was crazy. And to listen to them talk about, so nonchalantly, like, oh yeah, we had to do sex, right? And that wasn't even the bad part. The bad part was when they graphically described what they did with babies. That made me sick.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about that, and you literally, I mean, how do you even react to that? That is so horrific. And you would say, well, how would you feel if somebody did that to your kids? But the reality is these people don't give a crap about their kids, and they would gladly turn their kids over to have that done.
Their kids are routinely put through this in order to split their personalities and turn them into psychopaths.
Yeah.
So they're absolutely controllable and compromised. But although hardly anyone knows about the Hampstead kids case at the moment, I think that case will be the vanguard of what in the future everyone will know about that case, because it was so in your face, it was so covered up.
Yeah, boy, and they didn't. They did not spare the trolls on that. Believe me. I
No.
mean, I cannot believe how bad we were trolled. When Jaren was doing that. I mean, it spilled over into Globebusters, because they were following Jaren around, and guilty by association, they came after me
Well,
because
they had their own little catchphrase as well. Like
yeah.
conspiracy theorists, they had their own satanic panic. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyone talking or even mentioning anything about this was immediately, oh, you're satanic panic. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And now, I mean, I've heard numbers of over 1 million Satanists in the US. Satanism was accepted as a religion in the
Mhm.
US Army or the US Navy or wherever the hell it was. I mean, it has been growing under our watch.
Yeah. And
and it's poking its head out now.
it is. And the other thing that I think is amazing, and this is where I really like Martin's work, Martin, UAP, people that are, talking about the mud floods, about our real history. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable what they have done with our history. Nobody has any idea, at least as far as the mainstream teachings, that's all lies, point blank, it's all lies. The people that we idolize, Christopher Columbus, these people were disgusting. It's so why we even celebrate people like that. And everything is a lie. We had far greater technologies, and it's amazing. Every time I watch one of Martin's show and he comes up with something new, I'm just, at this point, I don't even doubt it anymore, Martin. I mean, honestly, it's like it's surprising, but it doesn't surprise me. But it just amazes me how somehow this information is out there to be found, right? Martin's finding it, but you're never going to hear this through mainstream channels.
They
And
wanted to be found. They wanted to be discovered.
Yeah.
This is how it's happened. It's just I never thought it got to this point at all with any of it. But I can't, I'm not surprised why they hide it, the reset system and everything else that goes on in this place. Like what they said on Men in Black, isn't it? The people are scary, panicky animals.
Mhm.
So they just dumb everyone down, keep the truth. But if you give you a different attitude towards life anyway, if you knew the real situation in this place.
Yeah.
And considering this film, which Rob was just talking about, I seen that was like right in your face what they're up to. I've never doubted it. We're in a Babylonian death cult to start off. There's no doubt about that. And this is what they practice: sacrifice. They want to affect the ether with the murder of the innocent, because it's the most, the worst thing in this place. So that's what they're doing. It's part of their practice, their dark magic. And I don't doubt that it goes on. To what scale? I don't know. Trafficking's been major right the way through history, hasn't it? The cannibalistic. There's the adrenochrome. That's a thing. It's right in the past. I've tracked this habit back to the Renaissance period. Nothing's changed. They just keep repeating like out of a textbook, if you like, history.
Mhm.
Nothing new under the sun. The fashions, the styles, everything just gets rolled out over and over,
And over again.
History
And,
just
and Martin, this honestly, this should make people think, because honestly, listening to your work and all about this alternate history, you have to, and when you become a flat earther and you do realize that this place is created, right? And so whoever or whatever it is that has created this place, obviously, if it's artificial and these resets are going on, right, where large populations are wiped out, well, who's responsible for that, right? Now, this goes into an area that I'm sure a lot of people would not even want to go there, especially when you get
Well,
into
look,
religion,
I
right?
see these, this system was an entire grid, and it's still an active grid today, circuit board cities. You
Mhm.
can compare any ancient city to a modern day motherboard, and it will be identical. This
Mhm.
artist Piranesi was mapping apparently Rome. Yeah, you can layer them on a circuit board, and there's everything on there. The hard drive, the heat sink, the whole thing is there, and you can see this on all Asian cities and all American cities. They're all on complete grid systems. And people give off up to 2,000 watts of active electricity at their most peak of the day. And then when we go home, we ground ourselves because all our houses are actually grounded. And this grounding mechanism is feeding, because the electric is in every single house, you see, and building. So, you know, it's sort of biodirectional, isn't it, electricity? They've got to sort of directionalize it with capacitors and the rest, haven't they? So it could be like seeping our energy to feed this system. And all computers, okay, they melt down. Because one of these resets in the past has had a meltdown because all of the antiquities melted. But that was a further back reset. Some say a plasma discharge event. Yeah, caused by a comet, probably, because that's what antiquities telling us. Comets mess up the date, whatever they are.
Yeah, the comets are. They're obviously, because this is an electrical construct, and I think the comets are one of those signs in the skies, right? That we're being, you know, told
They
about.
changed the narrative on it, Bob. You know, I've been researching comets since Flat Earth, because I thought, well, if nothing is really orbiting anything, what are these? Because I've seen Hale Bopp, and it was massive, you know, really close.
Right.
Yeah, so you know, at the time, I was thinking I was getting, you know, when Hale Bopp happened, I was thinking, oh, am I actually getting a perspective for space here? Because at the time I was a globehead. But then I thought to myself, well, actually, no, it seems really, really close. And how can that be when it's a million miles long tail of ice particles, and that's supposed to be a dirty snowball? Then it was a dirty snowball. Now, if you look into it, now they say it's a plasma effect. You know, they've changed their entire narrative in the last few years. I don't know what's going on.
So my question, Martin, is this: you know, you have religions, and religions all have, you know, very similar narratives, not obviously not identical, but they all ultimately seem to culminate in, you know, everything, you know, being in a better place after this darkness and all this stuff that goes on. But again, if these reset events that are literally wiping out, you know, virtually almost all the populations are happening, and now it seems like they're happening every, you know, 400 or 500 years, something like that. I mean, they're really a lot more often than we'd think, certainly not millions of years or anything like that. So what does that say about religion? What does that mean about this? Is religion just another control mechanism then at this point?
To me, Bob, this religion, you know, that's popped up recently, you know, the Roman Catholicism is, you know, look at the etymology of the word. It's religion, to rejoin the legion. Which legion? The Roman legion? Yeah, of course, because it's all a Phoenician paradigm. You know, there's nothing out in this realm we are living in that's outside of that. You know, this whole construct, the maritime law, the finance system, everything's on, you know, the fluid terms. Our language is phonetics. We speak the Phoenician language. Most of us do. Most of all the language has got phonetics in them. So there's another thing they say with resets. I was on a show the other day, Bob, really intriguing. The guy was looking into the vowel reset. So around the time, I suppose, the King James Bible, or later Renaissance, and there seems to be some, you know, additives of vowels into the, you know, the spells, you know, with the Phoenician spells, because it was a lot softer apparently back in the day, less vowels, softer, less Germanic speak, which was less effective on the realm, on the geometry of this place, because words are things. You know, you can even write the written word, which also has an effect on reality. So you imagine a book's context, the actual effect that would have on reality. That blows my mind in itself. If one line of "I love you" on the side of a plant can affect that plant's growth, you imagine it in a whole literature. Imagine it in a negative literature. You know, it's massive impact on the whole of this paradigm. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really intricate, this this puzzle.
Well, that's
pieces. But wow.
So yeah, and what you're saying about that, you know, the written letter and the vibration. I mean, we know, you know, I've done several shows about cymatics, you know, lately, and the ether, and how literally. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to, something I stumbled upon today, Bob. There's been a question in you know, my field for quite some time. So I'll hit you up with it today because no one else has thought of it till today or this moment. So going on semantics, right? All
Mhm.
star thoughts exhibit an alternative semantic pattern. Now we know that each semantic pattern is a different frequency, 4, 3, 2, whatever. So all star thoughts, which I've been on about for a long time, are all placed on islands, water tributaries, or near oxbow lakes, but they are all on water. What's more, all the water through hydraulic systems is pumped through the star thoughts. And then today, like having to think about star thoughts and cymatics, the penny dropped. I thought, were they structuring the water for this entire realm? You know, so they could have been, you know, because the entire thing is an actual exhibiting sacred geometry, the whole
Yeah.
star thought on a fractal. You know, they even fractalize in there. That mind blowing, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, it's bursting forth out of the ether. Technology, mind blowing stuff beyond us all.
Yeah.
So
I
they're
mean,
doing something, but it's definitely connected with water. And then it occurred to me, I thought, shit, are they restructuring the water for this entire place? You know, post Venetian takeover. Like,
exactly. Well, essentially, what they're doing
Yeah.
is they are having a cymatic structure that is affecting the overall vibration. It could be used as, you know, like a shield, and like you said, a star fort, right? Because yeah, I mean, we're all familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto's work, you know, and the
Yeah.
you know, vibration, all this stuff, but
What about Star in the
what
Jar, Bob? You're always into this, aren't you?
yeah, star in a
What
jar
about
stuff.
us are mostly made of water? What if we were in that jar and we got hit with that specific sound frequency? Would we light up?
You know what, we are in that jar, Martin, as far as I'm concerned, and that, you know, I'm not sure, you know, outer space may actually be water, but you know, what is the luminiferous ether? You know, that's the thing that I believe is being vibrated, that creation is coming forth from,
I
right?
do too, Bob.
So that's where the cymatic, and it's so interesting because, you know, like I said, one of the things that we've discussed, you know, is the work of Dr. Len Horowitz, right? And he talks about if you enunciate the Hebrew alphabet, right, and go, you know, and speak into a microphone and look at the wave pattern on an oscilloscope,
Yeah.
and you enunciate the letters, you know, correctly, a left, bet, you know, whatever. The letter actually manifests in pattern on the oscilloscope, right?
Yes.
As it appears. So it's like, wow, that's
what the penny drop for me was on my last post. I showed some oscilloscope settings of vibrational sound qualities, and they were identical to star thoughts. I was like, well, yeah, I know that already, but you know, usually I see it through somatics and oscilloscope, and it's like, then a sort of penny started to drop, and I thought, actually, they could be structuring water.
yeah. And so, you know, when you're talking about Starfort, I mean, obviously then there, and if this is a vibrational creation and ultimately we have these plasma discharges that ultimately ruin everything, well, then how do you protect against that? Well, you would protect against it by coming up with structures that would be vibrationally, I guess, discordant to that destructive energy, right? Or the star fort itself.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and I think that's exactly what's going on. I mean, we're only now beginning to realize just how much vibration and cymatic manifestation actually matters. I mean, it is the root of all of our creation.
Look
you
at
know?
nature. Look at nature.
Yeah.
Look at a tree, if you want to call it a tree. You know, it's the thing is how closely we're linked with nature. You know, the tree's branches look exactly like the synaptic paths of the mind, or the alveoli of the lung, or your actual arteries of your veins look all like the tree. So we're all that closely connected. You know, we're exhibiting the same stuff out of this fractal geometry. Remember, we start with very little, you know, in this realm, don't we? You know, the sacred sperm, and then, you know, it's supposed to be by cellular reproduction, if they want to put it that way. We grow in this realm, don't we? Very funny stuff.
Yeah.
Can I take this opportunity, guys? I gotta go. I gotta go. Good chatting to you all.
Okay, Rob.
And
Well,
and what today proves, John, is Bob is smarter than you. So stop saying he's not. All right.
Yeah, you're so full of shit.
Awesome, Rob. Well, hey, Rob. Finally we got on the show at the same time together. So
Yeah, no, it's
cheers
been
for
good.
that.
It's been good. Yeah, I've got to go out and buy a present for my son's birthday this morning.
All right.
And it is Saturday. Saturday, people get used to it. Saturday. It's not Friday.
Oh,
I say that every day.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Rob.
Take care, Rob.
Take
See
care,
you
man.
later. Bye.
Later, Rob.
Okay. See you later, Rob.
As well, guys. I'm gonna do one as well.
Yeah, I gotta go. It's 1:30 here nearly.
Yeah.
I am absolutely mashed.
I will.
Bad.
Love you all. God bless. Good night.
Get some rest, Mr. Meekin.
Yes.
Hope you feel better, brother.
Well, it's been a great show so
Definitely.
far and way over 2 hours. So, yeah, I'm going to peter on out as well and leave it to the US mob.
Alrighty then. Okay. Well,
Take
nice,
Alrighty.
nice talking to you, UK guys, and we will see
Thank
you
you,
guys
Bob.
later. Okay.
Yeah.
See you, Martin.
Take it
Sunday.
easy.
See you, Adam.
Yeah.
Adam, when you come back next time, I expect you to come with a bigger logo.
Yeah. Go with the microphone. Take a look
That's
at
right.
the mic.
You guys have a great night. Good night. Bye,
Night,
Martin.
See you guys later.
Sweet dreams.
See you,
Sweet
Martin.
dreams, all.
Love you guys.
All right. Sweet. Well, that was cool. I feel bad. I kind of took over your show, Josh.
No, that's quite all right. Are you kidding me?
We'll just
Well,
Glowbusters
good.
Realm Media. That's what we'll call this.
Love it. Perfect. You know,
Well,
it's
it's to show the lasers and things. What we're going to talk quantum mechanics.
we had a really good conversation about crystals before the show.
Oh, I missed that. I was. Missed that. It's still on the show, according to the computer.
Oh yeah, we should still be going.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
'cause it's lagging a little bit behind, isn't it? Well, I'm
We
gonna
did the crystals off show. We did a pre-show.
Yeah.
I got in late.
Yeah, no, the show's still live. We're still on the air. Just everybody in the UK except for you bowed out. So
We had to get some first-hand info about Flattoberfest, so we figured we'd get it straight from the
Karen
woman
was gonna
herself.
join the stream. Karen was asking in chat.
yeah, she's in.
She just
Hi.
There she
Oh,
is.
hi, Karen.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Karen. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Spacey. I'm super spacey. I've not been able to focus on much all week. It's all been goofy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been feeling that way too. And then I watched one of my geocentric astrologer channels, and they were talking about Mars being square to Pluto or something like that, and everything he was talking about, I was like, oh, that explains it. Every time there's some funky feeling going on that everybody's like, oh, everything's weird. I feel everything's just Then if I go look on the astrologer channels or the energy forecast, they'll talk about some planet alignment.
This whole
Throwing
year
everything off.
of energy has been weird. I mean, I can't shake it, honestly. And a lot of the times it's not a good feeling. And yet the times that are good, it's almost ecstatic, but then other times there's just like this looming awful.
I'm having that same thing, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having that same thing going on in my life. Well, I couldn't read the words, but yeah, it's like that.
Yeah. It's bizarre. And of course, I'm trying to reconcile it because I don't know if you knew or not, Martin, but we just moved out of Colorado.
I did know. Yeah, I know.
Yep. And that's pretty major, leaving your home and my business of 20 years. And we just completely just up and said, okay, we're out of here.
Good choice. Good choice of place.
Yeah. And we really like it here, but it is a huge life change. And I sometimes I think maybe some of those vibrations are coming from that, but I think overall,
Change is good, man. Change is good. Change is
Yeah.
needed, especially this time.
Yeah.
We're all going to have massive changes to our lives, whether we like it or not, and a move at this time to what, in my mind, outside of Denver is a better location. I think you've done a really good thing, Bob. You made a good decision.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. It's just so weird, you know. I mean, I grew up in Colorado.
Oh.
I moved away, you know, a few times when I was in the Air Force, and I moved to California and lived in Alaska for a
Surpassed
while.
that
But
homesick thing, Bob. Honestly, yeah, once you live in a place for something like 6 weeks, it seems like you've been there years. Honestly, you soon forget. You do.
yeah, yeah, I am getting used to it here, and I do like it here a lot. It's beautiful. This part of the country is gorgeous. So, but yeah, Colorado is just getting, you know, really bad, and of course they're going through economic problems and the fires, and you know, just it's
Yeah,
not a
that
good
happened.
place to be. And just as we were leaving, you know, they started building those damn 5G towers going down the street, you know. So I'm thinking not a moment too soon. And I'm not seeing that here, fortunately, but not yet. And I hope we don't, but you know, that probably will at some point, unless that gets stopped. I don't know if that's still on the fast track or what, but I can't help but think that, you know, whatever phase 2 of this whole thing brings is going to involve some sort of um, weaponization, I guess, of these 5G towers. But
Then, you know, they tell people this, you know, the symptoms they're supposed to experience. You know, act like you're ill for one thing, but like, you know, the taste. You know, I've definitely got it. You know, all the things are tasting different. All of it. The
Mhm.
milk, the chocolate tastes slimy, and I'm not the only one. As soon as I shouted it out, my comments were filled. Everyone's saying there's something up with the food, and I was like, there is. It's off. There's something going on. So at first I was like, are we just adopting to our new realm? We're not in the
yeah,
same place. And the new smells are like, you know, they're saying that some of it's like altitude sickness. I was like, you know, we suffer, you know, has everyone got altitude sickness? But I don't know, it's just history proves and says that they kill most of the population, unfortunately. Usually in research though, Bob, they have tip-offs and stuff, and
hmm
they prepare accordingly. So they have to get on high ground, they dig really deep. You know, the odd hill farmer survives and stuff, and
hmm
you know, the rest probably get introduced from somewhere else. But they do. I see it as like a farm, you know, or old quarrying operation. They care nothing for any of us, do they? They're psychopaths. The
Yep.
way they conduct themselves. They're not human beings. Human beings don't conduct themselves in a fashion like that.
No, they're
So
soulless
just
completely.
soulless. It's just insanity. Anything like 1% of what they would do, you know, we'd wreck ourselves. We'd never sleep again, would we? It's just
Nope.
nuts.
We
So
couldn't live with ourselves.
no, so it's just not us. It's just whoever's ruling us is not us. Psychopaths, devoid of empathy. So I don't even think they're, you know, human. You know, I think there's an infection.
No, well, I think they were raised that way. I really do. When I did see, that's when I listened to the Hampstead case. I could only listen to a couple minutes of it because I had already done a bunch of research on this stuff. These secret society families and how they raise their children.
Yeah, agreed.
And they were talking about, it was a woman who had never had children, luckily, but she remembered how she was raised and how her sisters were raised. Like, as soon as you could walk, as soon as you could talk, and even before that, you weren't shown love. You weren't shown any type of affection or caring or anything like that. That wasn't even,
psychos. Yeah.
yeah, you don't even know those feelings or emotions. They weren't shared with you, you know, in those developmental years. And as soon as they could start to talk, they were like really strictly raised. Like,
Yeah, it's just
it's
crazy to
horrible.
think
It's
that your humanity can be
stripped from
conditioned
you.
out of you, stripped from you, literally. And that's scary. That really is. But
Cat Stevens has got a lyric in his song "Father and Son" that's from the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen, and that made me think of what you like added into it. You were, you know, again, you can talk, ordered to listen, though.
yeah. So, and you know, the whole song, and no one knows what it's like to be the madman, to be hated, and all that. That the Who song. I mean, I never ever occurred to me that, you know, they were speaking as a member of the Illuminati, and this is what it was like to be in those families, you know, and wow. But that must be exactly what it's like, you know, literally to be hated, to have everything, and yet to have nothing, you know. It's really kind of bizarre.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, crazy stuff. So
The song, if you guys aren't familiar with it, is haunting. If you really stop and listen to the lyrics, no one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. No one knows what it's like to be hated, to be fated, to telling only lies. But my
Well, yeah, you
dreams,
know,
they're not as empty as my conscience seems to be. Yeah,
there's got to be
there's
good mothers still in these secret societies, just good people that, you know, still have these connections and this power, but they're not the same as these psychopaths. So I think that might have something to do with a lot of this truth coming out. Maybe there are these people behind the scenes that, you know, are in the know, but I don't know, maybe they work for NASA and that's why NASA messes up so much.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think they've gotten complacent. You know, they just and you know, in a way, can you blame them? I mean, look at these morons that are following every stupid rule, and you know, even as obvious as that it has become, it's still, oh, like Martin said, this is going to be a race. You know, I've said it a million times. It's going to be a race. Are we going to wake up in time, or are they going to succeed in their mission first? It's a tough one. But
No, a lot of people already see it as being one and seeing it just as a matter of time. They seem to be like closing up shop for the winter, don't they? They're closing down the entire economies like there's no problems. They're going to do it again when everything's already broke. Everything's operating on zero profit. Shops, public transport, every city in the world. Is any of this making sense? They're just going to keep printing money out forever, promising everybody stuff forever. No, man, there's something definitely much bigger happening. No
there
doubt
has
about
to
it,
be.
mine.
Yep, I
It ain't
agree
a
with
fucking
you.
virus, that's for sure.
No.
I'm not even buying any of that because it's not that. Because if it was, right, if it was a pandemic, this place would be like a fucking nightmare. It'd be like the horror films. So they're not worried about all that. And all the rest of the agendas are just bullshit. So gaslighting everybody to make them all go nuts, lower
Well,
their
yeah.
immune systems through the winter. They'll all die anyway. Next wave, they'll get rid of a massive load. Even the British Prime Minister told you right at the end of his speech, he said, many will die. Like, yeah, all right then, thanks. Cheers, mate. You know, last
Yeah.
thing he said, and he said it really morbidly too. It's like just literally just telling you. You know?
Yeah, and you have to wonder if it's going to be from the shots that people are going to be, you know, flocking to get.
Probably.
And then what are they going to blame it on, right? I mean,
look, they're gonna have no choice. They're gonna be sick to death of the mask, right? And they're saying you can't lose the mask until we got a vaccine. They just spent the last 50 years in my city hunting for the fucking cure for the common cold and the flu, and achieved zip because there's not. And then suddenly they say they're going to cure everybody, and then you can take your masks off. So most people by then will be happy to have, you know, prick in their asses is what they're going to have.
Yep, and it's all going to be free and distributed by your friendly neighborhood military. It's like, wow.
Yeah, don't look.
Unprecedented. Nothing in history has ever.
Blocks civilizations are before us in as far as history has said. I can't see it anywhere.
Yeah.
There was the Spanish flu when I was little, epidemic. That was the last pandemic in 1969 through to 1970, I think that was. That was the last one. And they injected everyone then. But I remember them calling me into school when I was in junior school, making me stand in a queue. And I remember this the other day, and it, you know, injected me. And I was like, I only occurred to me the other day, I was thinking, wonder what that was for. I remember we had polio, there was a sugar cube, there was a few others. My hands are covered with inoculations. It's covered.
Yeah.
It must have almost 6.
Yeah, they did the same thing to me in the military. You know, and when you go in the military, they shoot you up with everything.
I bet.
And
I
and
bet.
you're literally sick for weeks, you know, and your arms are sore and yeah.
You can get a
Through a
drive-by
gauntlet.
flu test now in our local supermarkets, Asda's, which are Walmart. So you can just drive by, get a flu test. They'll chuck you a chicken leg, chicken wing, and drop you off. You go.
Yeah, yeah, they'll give you gift certificates to get a flu shot here. I mean, they literally will pay you to get the flu shot. That's how insane it is.
Yeah. And the test is just bullshit anyway. Even the guy who invented the test said it's bullshit. It's for viral markers for cancers and stuff like that. He said, and everyone's going to show up who has the test as having some form of corona, so everyone will either have it or not have it. And that's all the test is. Have it 24 hours later and you haven't got it. It's just bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So hey, Karen.
I got ghosts.
Hey.
Oh.
They do this thing over and over again, though, Bob. We had the same thing with the Cold War. They kept us scared to death of nuclear bombs for 50 years, or whatever it was. Yeah, probably 50 years. They used AIDS in the 80s, petrify everyone not to have sex. And that everyone you know will know somebody that's died of it, and by the year whatever. They petrified everyone with that. They keep coming up with them. They've had endless of these. This is the good old-fashioned health scare, this is. They've been pulling this shit forever.
Yep.
But as far as locking everyone in the world down, no, that's new.
So how real do you think the Black Plague was?
Well, I got plenty of really old books from that time. But I dug up, like literally this week, Zach, a pamphlet, which is an almanac or almaniac, from 1665, the year before 1666, right? And it was called Plague is Nearing. Plague is Nearing. So I thought this was like propaganda. They sort of predicted programming a year before that the plague is coming. And they say with the plague, it appeared and disappeared as quick as it arrived, and the earlier plagues. But then they say, oh, the Great Fire of London happened and wiped out all of the plagued rats that got burnt in the sewers by all accounts, and not.
Yeah, because rats always get burned up, don't they? They're stupid and they hang around. And
now this was a reset. It's a cover story for a reset. See it over and over again. Even the plagues tied in with San Francisco earthquake, 1906. There was a bubonic plague outbreak in China. A load of Chinese went to Honolulu, and they were 30,000 of them were blockaded, quarantined in an area in Honolulu, and they all got burnt and murdered. 30,000 of them. And that's in the official narrative. Can you imagine how many it really was? And a load of them went to San Francisco, and then miraculously, like at exactly the same time, San Francisco gets wiped off the face of the earth, and then they have a second or third epidemic of the Black Death, bubonic plague, in the camp after the earthquake, like a year later, because everyone's in FEMA camps at the time. So this shit's ongoing. They're just not this big and not this bad. Because they never had this media before, did they? Not really. Not the same way. We all got Black Mirrors. Track and trace, don't even need it. Carry it around with you anyway.
Yeah.
Take the battery out, don't make no difference.
What's up, Karen B? Did you want to speak on Flattoberfest coming up here very shortly?
Well, yes, I do need to talk about. I mean, I do and I don't, because that's all I ever talk about.
I know.
Well, I enjoyed the show today.
I'll be getting to you now. You knew it's going to get worse and worse until like day before day of.
I know. I'm like, I just want it. I'm so excited for it to happen, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, I just want it to happen so I can stop talking about it every day, all day. But yes, I do need to keep talking about the meetup the day before, though, because everybody keeps asking, what's happening the day before? Is there anything going on the day before? Yes, there's a meetup going on the day before at the park across the street from the venue. The park is like Hyde Klotz or Heed Klotz or something. It starts with an H. It's a weird name, but it's right across the street. It's a big, gazebo. It's got power. It's got bathrooms. It's what else did commercial sound and video say? So I don't forget. Grill. mention the Friday Pavilion meetup, 4 to 9 p.m. That's right. It's 4 to 9 p.m. Okay, so it's later in the day. It's the afternoon. It has a grill. It has bathrooms. It has electricity. It has plenty of parking. It's got
Are
a
pets
big
welcome?
parking lot.
How about pets?
Now this, as far as what's planned at this place so far, is we have it booked. Okay, Nathan booked it. He rented it from the city or whatever for that day. Okay, but he's working on Flattoberfest. I'm working on Flattoberfest. So basically, it's there, and it's up to everybody else to show up and do stuff there. You know what I mean?
So volunteers are
Yep.
needed, is what you're saying.
Yeah, volunteers are needed and appreciated, but there's going to be a lot of people in town. I mean, we already have let me check. I know it's over 200 tickets have been sold.
Wow.
So let me just yeah. 217 is what I'm seeing right now. So
awesome.
Nice.
And there's still 2 more weeks. So there's
Not
going to be
bad
a lot
for
of
a
people in
meetup.
town. So what I need to do is, I know that it's really hard doing all this stuff, but this weekend I'm going to update the website. I'm going to put all the location information there, and I'm going to, put it out there. But if everybody who's going could share it. Scuba, oh good, Scuba's going. I'm going to tell all the locals there. I'm sure the locals that live there will show up. So yeah, that's what's going on. We've got the place. And then after the park, because we only have the park rented from 4 to 9 p.m., right? So there's like a 5-hour window there where we can be there doing stuff. So after the park at 9 p.m., if people still want to do something, they still want to hang out right across the street at the Shrine Center, they have a bar that's open to the public on Fridays, and they have karaoke. So that's where we can go right after the park if everybody wants to do that, or wherever you want to go. There's so many local people here that are going to be there. There's going to be little after parties that spring up all over. So, but the day before, that's where we're going to have a main meetup, and we actually have the place officially rented for us to use. So there's
Awesome. Yep, that'll be cool.
Now, the day of, it starts at noon. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how late do we anticipate this going on?
Noon. I'm trying to schedule everything that will start at noon, and then I'm trying to make it so everything will end around 11, so that we have 11 to midnight to clean up, because that's really all we have to do is get the garbage out, clean up any garbage that we leave. And once we do that, we're good to go. So I expect everything to end around 11 p.m. ish.
Ish. Nice.
Perfect. And we can always go back over to the park afterwards, right?
Right. Well, if we need extra
No,
time,
I'm joking.
we
That's
have to
late.
rent extra hours there. That's possible. It's not like they're gonna, everybody get out at midnight.
Yep.
That's good to know.
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long, long day. I think at 11 hours, though. I mean, that's great job, Karen. I mean, this is really something. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Well, you're welcome. I just hope everybody has a good time. I just want everybody to have a good time. So I got a lot of stuff in store. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, I have a very special surprise in store for Flattoberfest, and I got the approval from the Shrine Club today to do it, because I had to have them check and see if I was able to pull it off structurally inside the ballroom where I wanted to do it. So I got the message today that it was going to be no problem and I could do it. So yeah, but I'm not going to say what it is. It's my surprise.
The gigantic Foucault's pendulum, isn't it?
Oh my God. I can't believe you ruined it for us right here and now.
Well, by God, if that's it, then
Maybe she got permission for Zach to
but
drop
it's-
his magnetic balls.
Ooh, there you go.
That'd be cool.
I would love it if your balls would finally
all in
drop,
there.
Zach.
So, Karen, did you see the latest story that they put out in Science about gemstones?
No.
Fine gemstones? No, it cracked me up because they are right about it, but they're also wrong in so many ways. Geologists are what I'm going to call theoretical scientists as far as stones and things like that. What they do is they look at rocks and they have to fit them into a timeline that's millions and millions of years old. So they look at it and they do layers and try to create a background for the framework that they work in. I'm going to stop here and say I have a background in gemology. Gemology is a trade school. They don't put you at the university with geology. And I would say gemology would be a practical science by comparison, because gemology is all about, ever since there have been gemstones and rocks, pretty rocks growing in the ground, there have been people trying to fake and create things that are fake to mimic these fine little rocks on the ground. And so gemologists work in real science, that they have to actually...
Chemical gold was banned by a pope and a king at one
Right.
time.
All of this stuff can be done. Crystals do grow, and we can grow them all. We can grow gold. We can grow diamonds. We can grow it all in laboratory. And so I'm going to call a gemologist a practical scientist in it, that you have to look, and basically a huge part of your job is determining, which they now have you send off to labs. It's gotten so good, but determining what was grown in the ground versus what was grown in the laboratory, because they're the same stuff. And they really are the same stuff. But it forces you as a gemologist to see, how do rocks grow? How do crystals grow? Well, geologists just came out with the news that crystals can grow, fine gems can grow up to yards in a day. So maybe they were hanging out in the gem labs to see this and in nature. And they're right. Rocks form in a matter of hours, minutes. You can watch them growing under a microscope. They get bigger. They can grow for weeks and years and get extremely big, which you'll find sometimes in underground caves. But your timeline is more in hours and days, not in decades, millennium, hundreds of years. That's not how it works. It happens rapidly. Where they did make the mistake is they said this happens with fine gemstones, because fine gemstones, we do it in laboratory all of the time. But the lattice structure of some of the finer gemstones is some of the tightest lattice structures in rocks. And these are going to be your slow growers by comparison. So why the fine gemstones, they determine grow at these rates. They haven't said the rest about the rest of the rocks out there. They've only picked out the fine ones that were duplicating in the laboratory, and they're not bothering to mention that it wouldn't just be the fine ones, it would be the other stuff at even a more rapid rate if you apply even just a little bit of logic to it. So we'll throw that out. But if you look through there and look at gemstones, geologists are now saying, oh my gosh, these things grow rapidly right in front of your eyes, and they do.
Duh.
Duh.
You know, it's so
Duh.
funny because I'll sit there and I'll watch the Crystal Collector on YouTube. That's one of my favorite crystal channels, right? Because he'll dig these big old crystals out of the dirt. I just happen to have one sitting here. He'll pick it out and he'll be like, "What?" Right? But anyway, he'll find crystals and they'll have the little anhydro, right? Which is when there's a bubble, there's liquid, and then there's an air bubble in the liquid trapped inside the crystal. Does anybody want to tell me how that's possible if it takes millions of years for a crystal to form? I don't see it happening.
That's called a three-phase inclusion in gemology, and it's an identification. It's, again, a way that we're taught to look at. It's funny in gemology, too, is they teach you to look at all of these little things and check them off on boxes. Like, oh, does it have a three-phase inclusion? Does it fluoresce? What's the specific gravity? But you're never, what's the refractive index? Does it break it into two wavelengths? But you're never really taught. You're taught to go through your grid and check things off in a box so you can identify things. But you're not taught to really think, what does this mean? And how could they form over time? In gemology, you just don't ever consider them forming over thousands of years, because again, if you look at like diamonds and what they say about diamonds and how they grow
Under pressure.
Under pressure, you'll say, then why, if I'm looking at it when they're making synthetic diamonds in the laboratory, are they growing them under what? Low atmospheric pressure? Not high pressure, but actually they grow best at lowest atmospheric pressure.
opposite.
And the opposite. Oh, again, gemologists just don't read geology. And then you take geologists that will learn on certain things, like they'll say that if you want to identify different minerals, look at, like, for instance, celestite, and look for the way that it makes craters in these little pits. It's called cratering, and it actually looks a lot like cratering at the moon, or that they know there is like, wow, it's been exposed to a briny or a salt water solution and it dissolves it. And they know this because they can drop a rock in a saltwater solution and it will recreate, and that will happen. In science, you also have the archaeologists looking at that exact same cratering and identifying these as millions of old fossils, saying that those holes or those little cratering are there because little animals were digging and burrowing in them, and that these are classified now as fossils because these same little ringlets. So even within your different scientists, you're looking at the same little pieces of information, but archaeologists think that they're burrowed by animals, and geologists think that they're exposed to the briny solution. I'm going to go with the geologists on that one, on the common sense, because I've done it. You can drop things into salt water and it will, that circular pattern like you get on craters in the moon is a regular dissolution pattern if you expose rocks into usually a saline, a briny solution of salt water. Just fun stuff. Yeah, how our science is, there's good and bad out there, but how they don't cross over, and how, again, your theoretical gets a little bit theoretical to the max. Bob will remember me almost wetting my pants in laughter the morning I showed him that the scratches up in the foothills up by where he used to grow up, these where you'd see like scratches in the rocks, were created by dinosaurs, doing a sex mating ritual millions of years ago. Do you remember that, Globebusters? Oh, did Globebusters turn off? Is he muted?
Nope.
There he is.
There
Am I
he is.
here? Okay.
Hey.
Yes, I remember. Absolutely.
And so they were saying that you have to be careful. These rocks should be declared a national historical site because they have scratches in it, and they determined that they must have been made by dinosaurs doing a mating dance millions of years ago.
It was ridiculous.
That's freaking hilarious, man.
But still under the venue of science.
Yep.
You know, if a child were to tell you that, you would be like, no, you're making up stories. Come on now. But because it's an adult with letters behind his name.
They get an award.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I'm off, guys. My eyes are shutting. I got it.
Alrighty, wow.
Maybe up to 30.
Yeah, it is
Good
about
night,
that time, I
Martin.
reckon.
Martin, honey, I have that effect on people. You have sweet, sweet dreams.
I'm miles away anyway, me. So.
Love you, bro.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Martin. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks
Always
for
a pleasure.
Thanks for the company. Good night,
Anytime.
brothers and sisters. Good luck, Karen. Oktoberfest. I'll be watching with keen eye.
Thank you.
I can't wait. It's the only thing happening this year, really, isn't it? So wicked.
The only.
Much.
Yeah.
It's a treat for us all. Thanks.
It's only October.
Sounds good.
October. Yeah. Peace and love, guys.
All right. Good night.
What's up, Martin?
Good night, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Later, Martin.
Lot can happen in 2 months.
Yep, no doubt. Yep, I think I'm about burned out too, guys. So I think
Same.
I'll bail. And thanks for having me on.
Anytime, Bob. It's
A
always
lot
a
of fun.
pleasure. Yeah. Well, we'll get going. We got to get warmed up a little bit. Get the hamsters running on the wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything will do what it does.
Yep. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm out of here, and you all have a good evening.
All righty. You do the same, Bob.
Night, Bob.
Good night. Bye-bye.
I wanted to thank everybody for all the positive thoughts and vibes and everything you've been giving me the past several months. Looks like we finally did settle on a house. We found a couple different properties we really liked, we really wanted. We put bids in, but our offers were declined, and we got outbid. If you remember, the first one was by like $70,000.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, which speaks a lot to the market out here. Really, it's
Dang,
like
man.
it really is like urban flight. It's like the more rural you get, the more people want it. So it's everybody is moving out. Whatever this call is that's going out, that's getting people up and out of their houses and relocating. There are a lot of people that hear it. It is crazy to see it.
Wow.
But yeah, we got outbid on all the things we really liked. But the universe, the creator, put in our path one that did its best to check off all of my wife's boxes and, my 2 boxes that I really had for a house that I wanted. So it's a great property with lots of potential, ready to move into. Our offer was accepted. We just had the inspection yesterday. It was actually the first chance we got to see the inside in person. We'd seen pictures, and we drove by the day before it opened, before it went on the market even, the day before on Saturday. We had already put a bid in on a house, but knew that the 5 acres property was probably going to go quick, and our offer wasn't going to last on the table long. So we thought we might go ahead and drive by a couple of these other ones just in case we need a backup. And we saw it. We drove by it. It was okay. It was nice. It wasn't the 5 acres that we wanted. So then Sunday rolled around, and our offer was declined. And we said, you know what? We can't stay where we are for any longer than we have to. So rather than risk losing a third house, go ahead, put an offer in, sight unseen. We'll trust the whatever issues come up we can handle. And it was only slightly over. We only holy Jesus. We only went $6,000 over. And ours was the most straightforward contract, so there it was. Inspection was pretty good. A few minor problems that the seller will have fixed. We're still waiting on a closing date. It's a nice rural property, USDA loan, so we got to wait for that inspection too. But hopefully it should be pretty quick. We should be up and out of here ASAP, back into a new studio, which I think is going to be good. This one is in need of arranging and organizing. After all these years, it's gotten quite cluttered in its various upgrades. But I do appreciate all the thoughts and positive vibes. It's been a year. It's been 2020. That's all I can say. I don't think I've got another damn thing left in me. Karen, what else you got? Where are you going to be on next? You're on somewhere in like, what, 10, 15 minutes, right? Probably.
Tuesday, Strange World with Mark.
Awesome.
Is the next thing I have scheduled.
That's truthfrequencyradio.com, tfrlive.com.
Mm-hmm. And I also stream it on my channel, my secondary channel, Unveiling This Realm, since I can't stream on my main channel right now. So that's where I'm at. And on Facebook. I stream it on Facebook and I stream it on DLive too. So there's that.
Well, sweet. What's Brian been up to?
He's been in California, flexing the anti-mask law.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Yeah. He's been doing a good job at it. So it's cool.
That is cool. Well, sweet. Kimmy, you got anything left?
Oh, I'm just sitting here playing with my eyesight, which is just, again, a personal miracle happening on my end that I'm just watching in progress. And every day lately in this last week, every day I've opened my eyes, an eye that was legally blind in, I'm seeing more and more out of. I'm actually looking at the monitor and the lit up keyboard and everything and just enjoying the colors and the pulse of it right now. With this eye, watching it come alive and feeling it come alive, and kind of a neat place to be when a miracle is happening right to you in living time.
I bet it is. I bet it really is quite the experience to literally see it happening.
And that's exactly what it is I'm seeing it happening seems like every minute of every day I see a little bit more out of this eye that was supposed to be all done with, and it's clearing up. I don't know what to say other than thank you. It's pretty cool.
That is really cool. Mr. Too Nice for Ice, what else you got?
Then I'm good.
Nut and honey.
Oh, that is so gorgeous, Karen.
I
I've been
just
playing in the
love.
river.
Yeah,
Ooh, wow.
I just love looking at them.
I think I saw a post the other day. Someone threw like a great big old amethyst in the fire, and it burned purple flames and came out clear.
What?
That's exactly what I said.
The
What?
crystal didn't break.
Not that I know of, but I didn't dig too deep. It was just that's what I said is what I gleaned as I scrolled it past my eyeballs. It was
Cammy, does that pass the sniff test for you?
Actually, heat and radiation can affect gems in interesting ways. Heat, you can wash the color out of a stone with heat. I would expect it more to get scorched, though, if it was actually a fire and a fire coating. And I would expect there be a little bit more of the story than what they're saying. And as far as the fire burning purple, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I do know that you can fade out certain gemstones by leaving them in the heat or in the sunlight. And a lot of things, they heat and darken. They'll go back and forth with, in other words, again, you can wash them out and they'll darken again and return with when you return the temperature and that. Other ones don't. Gemstones have got all kinds of unique properties that it's impossible to, again, rule a lot of things out until you test it. I don't rule it that one in or out without testing. I do think that there would have to be more, though, just because of fire scale and that. What were your thoughts? It sounds kind of funky. If heat didn't fade out certain stones so easily.
Well, I guess it depends how deep the color is in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if it was a lighter amethyst, maybe it would work. But
Yeah, it
maybe
would be
like a super, super dark purple one. I don't know if you could do. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, you're gonna have a hard time fading. Well, let's see. I'm gonna check really quick.
I wonder what would happen. Like, does it work for the different colors too? Like, I have a smoky quartz, so would that shoot out a dark flames? You know?
Yeah.
Ooh, I found a big piece of smoky quartz today, I think.
I mean, would purple and would the mineral that makes the purple hue here, would it burn purple? Does it work the same?
Okay, this I'm looking, by the way, on just naturally what's going to happen with amethyst, and when heated to more than about 300 to 400 degrees Celsius, so you're talking a serious heating it up, amethyst loses its violet color and often turns yellow, orange, or brown, and then resembles the quartz variety citrine. But depending on the locality and temperature during the heat treatment, it may also turn to colorless or rarely green. In other words, it turning to colorless, they say it's possible, but it's hitting out in a rare, getting it just right. See, I am aware. One of the things that people don't know when working
Ooh,
on
it cracked.
jewelry. Yep. That's
That's
generally
what I was expecting to happen. I was thinking,
Mhm.
well, to me, it seems like if you superheated it, it would just crack.
It will. You can crack it. You'll do pieces, and then these ones are getting clear on it. This is just. I mean, I've worked around jewelry so much, and people don't think, but when you bring a lot of stones in to be worked on, they have to be taken out of the room or the ring to apply heat next to it. Or again, you do laser welding and things like that. But heat is a consideration because you will change the colors, and a lot of the times crack the stones when exposed to high heat.
Right. That thing cracked almost immediately. That's exactly what I
That's a
thought
good
would
hit.
happen, is
Yeah.
that it would blow up.
And then these ones, I think they are again getting them. You can, if you, depending on the locality and temperature during the heat treatment, it may also turn colorless or really green. So this could be very well happening.
I don't know. I don't really see is that a purple flame? Kinda, sorta.
Well, I don't think this is the video that I was talking about that I saw
Mm.
go by. I just Googled some keywords real quick and see
Huh.
what would come up.
And this is an interesting thing for finding, again, your dark or your light gems, or that if you leave your amethyst in sunlight or under UV sources for too long, its color will fade. And if you expose the amethyst to heat, you'll see the color fade as well.
I could try it with some smoky quartz. I have a torch and like tons of smoky quartz on my back porch.
Well, there you go.
I'm gonna try it now. Now I'm curious.
Well, here's what I would
I
say.
like hands-on trying everything.
Make a big fire and just put the smoky quartz like 6 feet away from the fire. And then like every half hour or so, move it a foot closer. Just get it.
I could do that.
You gotta heat it up slowly. I think one of the reasons they're cracking so much and so fast is because they're cool. They're probably room temperature, and you
Yeah.
blast it with that heat. I think if you were to heat it up slower, it would be less likely to crack. And then
You
just
are right.
chuck it right in the fire, right in the coals, and see what happens.
Interesting. Right. Now we got an experiment we could do.
Hashtag test it. As
And it
John
involves
Savage
fire.
would say, fire.
Yes,
Fire
science.
is always cool.
All right, then let's get the hell out of here. I've piddled around long enough.
But thank you for joining us, Karen.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Always a pleasure.
Anytime. All right.
Love y'all.
This has been a disjointed and discombobulated episode of Have No Sphere. It's Friday.
We mimic what the universe is throwing at us. So yeah, it's perfect.
That's right. That'll teach them. That'll teach them to make me feel disjointed and discombobulated. They get it right back. The energy I give is the energy I get.
Always works that way, doesn't it?
Somehow. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you either Tuesday and Friday morning over there on Truth Frequency Radio with a little show of our own called The Ironworks. Just imagine Zach, Walt, and I early as we caffeinate. We kick off at 4 a.m. Central, so just keep that in mind when you tune in over there or right here on the Iron Rail Media YouTube channel, where you'll also find us right back here next Friday evening for another exciting episode of Have No Sphere. Hopefully a little bit more, a little more better, a little more gooder next week. Anyway, love you guys. Be good, be well. Toodles.
Doodles.